All right, we're rolling. Joy Vasatka.
You butchered that.
I butchered it. Yeah,
You just said it.
I just said it. Joy Vasatka.
Vasatka.
Joy Vasatka. Brian Wendel. Welcome to the End of the Breach podcast. Dude, I'm so excited to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming up to Minnesota. This is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so today we have on two incredible filmmakers, film producers. Joey's an Air Force veteran. We had met through Black Rifle Coffee years ago, hit it off, became friends. Met Brian through production. Love you. You're amazing. And you were like a veteran of like the Hollywood producing community. Yeah, and we'll dive right into that because that's awesome. This is going to be a fun film episode, finally. The End of the Breach is life-worn film. Everything's just been life and war. With the exception, we did have Kerry Kite on, and he was a media producer, kind of film producer, did his time in LA. And that was a fun podcast. That was more film, so I guess that was first. But this will be film heavy, so I'm very excited to talk about this. So, yeah, man, what do you guys... I guess kind of a little bit of origin story. You know, how did you guys get into the film? Like, what was your inspiration growing up? So, you know, we can start with Joey.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go from there, man. Yeah.
Well, I never thought I'd work in film. I joined the military because I wanted to go to music school. My parents wouldn't pay for it, so I was like, you know, what can I do to get myself to LA and go to Musicians Institute? And so I did that for just about 5 years, just over 5 years. And during that time, I was studying different things. You know, I was kind of in and out of different schools and whatnot, and ultimately decided I don't have to go to music school. I can just be a rock star. You know, so I joined this band and we played for a while, and it had a lot of fun. And when I separated from the military, I was like back in school. I had this plan. I was studying psychology, and it was going to be a long road. But I had a friend who worked in the industry, and he would go and work, I don't know, once every couple of months and work for 2 or 3 weeks and come back home, and he was just a big hippie, you know, Cotter, right?
Yeah, Cotter, yeah.
So he'd come back, and he's a massage therapist.
That was after the Air Force or before?
It was during.
Oh, during.
Yeah.
Okay,
so this
during
whole time he's telling me, he's like, dude, you got to come to New Orleans and work in film. And I'm like, whatever, dude. You know, like, I'm not interested. Like, I love film. You know, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But I got this plan, and this is what I'm going to do. And I ended up seeing one of his checks. And I'm like, what is this for, like, a month? You know what I mean? Like, how much work was this? He's like, dude, this is a week. And I'm like, what? And my whole world was like, I was just recalculating my entire life. And I'm like, I need 6 years of school. Like, this is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can go make $100K a year starting right off the bat. I'm like, this is going to be great. So I dropped out of school and went to work with him in New Orleans. And his brother hired me. And we worked for... I probably worked for about maybe a month, like 2 days on. I was an additional hire on rigging electric. So I was like hauling all the cables, setting up all the lights. We'd set up, in TV, you set up 3 or 4 sets a day, and then you break those sets down by the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So you're always, you're ahead of production, then you're chasing production to get out of there. And so I was stoked. I was making, probably $1,000 a week, which is better than what I was doing in the military probably at that time. But the show got canceled as soon as everything was like, figured out. I got this figured out. This is going to be awesome. And it gets canceled, and everyone just kind of takes a hiatus because they've been working for years, and they have a bunch of money saved. And I took this huge risk to get out there, so I did all these odd jobs, waited for a couple of months, and then got on another show finally, and got full time, and it was great. I didn't stop working from there.
Yeah.
And then I became, a department head. I was a best boy. I did some gaffing and things like that. And it just wasn't really my thing. Like, I loved lighting, but, I didn't even really understand it, until 4 or 5 years in, until I decided, like, wow, this is kind of my career now. I hadn't done anything longer than 5 years. It was high school and then military, and now I'm in this thing that I didn't think I was going to be doing. And my music career was kind of fleeting at that point in time. I'm 25 years old, and I'm the old guy playing, with these, 16-year-old kids.
25. Yeah, 25. I'm like, I'm old.
Yeah, seriously. But you're looked at as old. And, I just kind of sat and rethought everything. And, we had a bunch of resources. We're talking to, all these rental houses, and we know all these camera operators and all these crew guys, and everybody loves to do creative stuff. And so we started shooting music videos, like terrible ones. And they eventually got better because we brought, more people on. They're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like it was just fun.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of fell into the role of like doing everything that you don't see on camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is producing, I guess, And it was just fun for me. I did not want to be on camera. I didn't care about that. I loved just setting everything up and even, writing and, some directing and things like that. And so I got into, better music videos and then started doing advertisements and politics. And that whole time, we were kind of building out this like slate of films and trying to get things funded. And it was a funny time for that just because everything was changing with the streaming world and whatnot. So it was a little bit more difficult. And then eventually, just it's kind of funny because I've been very, very blessed and lucky, to like kind of always get the call. I'd always get like these really cool calls, and for jobs I never really had to like get out there and be like, hey, I want to produce your stuff. It was like, someone had heard my name, or so I'd get random calls, and I got a random call from a man named Andy Wakefield who had this film idea for a documentary, and at that point in time, I had just kind of hooked up with Brian maybe a year or so before that through a really good friend named Greg who works with us now. And, I'll let Brian get into his story, but kind of reeled him back in. And he had been a great, kind of mentor for me during that time, working with much larger budgets and like, just trying to figure everything out on a larger scale. And pulled him in to do a film, and that turned out to be Protocol 7.
Yeah,
so,
dude.
Yeah.
It's awesome because it's like you guys both have reached, independent, like making a multi-million-dollar film. It's like, which is where we all want to be at. It was like, I want to be at. Everyone that we've in the industry, we all were like, man, someday we want to get that. And it's like to actually do it's like, I guess a little surreal, or is it just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like now you're in it, but to get that first step to be like, yeah, we're a go.
Yeah. No, it's funny because like
press record.
That bar is always just constantly rising.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like even when like we did our first ad, I was like, okay, this is cool. Okay, what can we do next? We got to do something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And then when the film came, it and that size film, I mean, God bless, you know what I mean? A lot of people start much lower.
Yeah.
But a lot of producers get in there like, I'm doing we got to go do this $50 million movie. Let's go get it funded. It's like, you're not going to get that funded.
No.
So I had very realistic expectations, going into this. And, when that came, it kind of just felt like a natural progression to things. As you know, you're always learning, and I've always just tried to surround myself with people who do a better job than I do, just try to make me look better. But you're always learning from those people, and, it's funny because sometimes, we do have to sit back and be like, holy crap, man, pinch ourselves. I can't believe, we're doing this right now. And then, but it's always just, let's just get to work and get this thing done and do the best that we can, for the project. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, what's your backstory? I was because the last shoot we were on, the editor, your buddy, he's like, we'd gone out for beers.
Oh, good.
Who was the DP? The other
Pete.
Pete. We were all going
Pete
out.
And Michael.
Yeah. We were always going out for beers after the shoot last year that we did with you guys, and he was telling me some fun stories about with you, but then like the LA scene and all that stuff through the years. I was like, holy crap, Mike, he had directed Punk'd, which is crazy because I was like, dude, I was a kid, like when that was on, to kind of, and I'm a fan of Michael Bay, and he's like, yeah, man, I saw Michael Bay at a club, and also way back in the day, So, but what's your origin story? How'd you and some of that stuff?
Sure,
and we'll get into like your film too, but also let's get into like the culture of film. Like we're all living through that and then navigate. Now it's like wild open waters, but we can talk about that. But what's your origins here?
I mean, very similar to Joey's story, right? I'm a dropout as well, and again, very similar parallel story where I'm like, okay, I'm learning all these skills now on set, in the field. Why am I going to go to school for it? This makes more sense for me to, learn the skills on the job and get paid for it, right?
Yeah.
So I got very lucky in that sense. But originally I wanted to get into the medical field. I actually wanted to be a nurse, which is hilarious. And then I saw a really nasty side of just humanity where people suck, you know. I mean, we all know that as it is in your day-to-day life. But watching family members they're buzzards, you know. They're waiting for people to kick the bucket so they can come in and take the house. And I saw a lot of that, and I was like, man, if I stay in this world, I'm going to become like this vigilante at night, you know? And then I'll ultimately get arrested, be like a Dexter or something. So I was complaining about that to my uncle who lived in LA, and at the time I was in Central Valley, Modesto, which is a really interesting town because you have George Lucas came out of Modesto, great bands have come out of Modesto, a band called Granddaddy, it's this weird kind of pocket that just breeds creativity and really good people. It's a great place to be from, you know?
Yeah.
You don't really want to stay there. And the people that stay there, it's fine too, you know? I'm not going to trash, but it for me, I was very blessed in the sense of getting to grow up there. And just, you know, I was, you know, punk rock kid, skateboarder, and into the arts and all this other stuff. And it was really fun for me. Hollywood was always calling me. It was always calling me. So, you know, getting back to talking to my uncle, going, man, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. He said, well, come down, hang out with me. You can move down here. You can go to school down here. Just figure things out. And I packed everything up, moved down to my uncle in LA, and I had a friend who was also in LA. So I was, you know, linking up with some buddies. I was at a party, and I was just I just moved here, blah, blah. And this girl was like, can you type? I'm like, yeah, I can type. You know, fast typer? I'm like, yeah, pretty average, sure. She's like, we need a transcriber. And it was for a show called Hard Copy.
Yeah.
This is a long, old, it was like very
I remember Hard Copy. Yeah. This was...
I'm like, so what's the job? She's like, you can start Monday. You know, this is like a Saturday party. And she's like, you're a transcriber. You're just going to type what people say, and then the script goes to the producers. I was like, I can do that.
What years was that then?
That was...
Hard Copy was like the 90s, right?
Oh, yeah. It was late 90s. Yeah. I had moved to LA in 99. I would say it was probably... if it wasn't 99, it was like, you know, January of 2000, right?
Yeah.
So...
He's old.
Yeah, I'm an old guy.
No, man.
I just turned 46. I'm the oldest dude. It was funny because I was always the youngest guy. Now I'm the old guy. I'm like, oh God, how did that happen?
Time goes fast.
It goes real fast. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do this gig, you know?
Yeah.
And it was awful. Literally, it was the worst job I think I've ever had in my life. Only because I'm a creative person, right? But what's really interesting is I use both sides of the brain. I'm constantly in the creative realm, but I'm also very scheduled, you know, budgets, and kind of a rare breed in that sense for what I've come to learn, right? Because everybody's like this, like, no, people are very black and white in certain, you know, departments, and I go, like, you know, I'm not like a big astrological guy, but I'm like, oh, I guess I'm truly an apex Aquarius, because I just float around, like everything's fine, man, we're gonna figure it out, and because ultimately it always does, it always works itself out because it has to, right? So I'm doing that job, and I remember going home watching Simpsons, and in my head I was trying to type what the characters were saying, and this was like 1 week into the gig. And I was like, I can't do this, man. I'm gonna go mental. So I went to my supervisor. Her name was Shelly, and I said, hey, I really appreciate the opportunity. You know, you're incredible. This is so cool. I was like I would go to the Paramount lot. You know, I was like walking on the lot, eating lunch at the Water Tower Cafe, and like, you know, stars, and I mean, it was real deal sound stages and stuff.
Especially like late 90s. I don't think people understand how like. That was a different era.
It was
like,
a totally different era
than what it is now. Like celebrity, Hollywood, all that
it was
shit.
what people think happens in LA. It was happening, you know? I'm like, this is so cool. And I came to her and I was like, hey, I really appreciate the opportunity. I can't do this, you know? But is there anything else that I can do around here? Like, you know, just let me know. And she's like, well, in the tape vault, you know, they need some help, and, you know, let's have you check that out. And so I did, and everybody in the transcription department hated me. These were people that were there for 4 or 5 years, because it was a long running show. And I immediately got like a promotion. I got more money.
Just because you asked, like, I can't do it.
And I was like, well, I guess squeaky wheel gets the oil, you know?
Yeah.
And and it was fun because they had their archive of just footage over the years. I mean, craziest stuff you could ever imagine. There was this guy who led, it was a high-speed chase guy, and he had a dog in his truck, and he burned the truck. The dog was terrible, and then he like blew his brains out. Yeah. And I had heard about this story. It was before I moved to LA, and they had that
footage.
Oh yeah,
they had the
footage.
Yeah. Oh wow, that was I don't remember that.
Wow. And so I was
that was like internet. Version 1, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Holy shit.
So,
it was ogrish.com or something.
I'm going,
Rotten.com.
It's like you're trying to download something naughty on LimeWire and that's what comes.
The worst. Yeah. And so it was like very Faces of Death, But they had this incredible library of footage. So I would just pull stuff, and you can't unwatch that. I was like, oh damn it, why did I watch that? And then I started getting into editing because of that, right? So they had this old Avid system, and they were, these guys would pull clips because it was part of the show. Yeah. And I would hang out. I mean, I would be there all night and hanging out with these old grumpy editors. I mean, these dudes were ancient. Also, these are the 80-year-old dudes. And I'm like. These because they had that skill set. Like nobody else was doing that, right? There was just old guys, and I would ask the questions.
Sexy. Yeah. To this day, it's still a little of that culture, a little bit. Like people find out you can edit. Yeah. Like they tap on you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, a great editor is worth his weight in gold.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I just hung out, learned, and asked the questions and got into it. Started, taking like little extension classes to get better with the equipment because it's all new to me. And then hard copy got canceled. Right?
Yeah.
So
what do you know?
Everybody's looking around, and it was like the big newsroom. People were crying. And
they have a good reason to, or is there?
It was just done.
Just done. Yeah. Ran its course.
There was, Again, I think it had been around for like probably 8 years or something.
Yeah, because I remember it was a staple.
Yeah,
it's like hard copy. Like people made parodies of it. Like, I remember it. Yeah.
So it was over, and people in the newsroom were crying, and these big, producers on the show were turning to me going, "Hey man, you got another gig?" And I'm like, "No, what the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And it was very much like Joey. I'm like, "Oh, geez, I gotta like find another gig now," because I'm into this too, right? At that point, the bug really bit me, and I'm like, "This is." It was always calling me. I never quite knew, what capacity I was going to get into it, but I just always knew it was like it was for me, and luckily, just talking around, there was this other show that needed a production assistant. So I was like, I'll be a PA. I'll do anything. I don't care. Like, first of all, this is all new to me. I need to learn, and I'm very much of that old school mindset of like. Start as a janitor, work your way up.
Yeah.
That way everything. And it's just it's better to know all aspects of the job so that you're not that idiot who's like just go do that. And it's like no man, you don't understand. Like that's a very necessary component, right? Yep. So that made me a better line producer as that came down the line. But so. Got PA, just constantly was working my way up. Really cut my teeth in post. Loved post side of everything because you fix it in post, is the old saying. And it's very true. Once I really realized that, I was like, geez, man, like these editors are the rock stars. They are everything, especially in television and especially in unscripted TV, right?
Yeah.
And that was my bread and butter for a long time. All this, Biggest Loser.
Oh no shit!
Boss, and luckily for me, I did fun shows that were actually positive, good stuff.
Yeah.
There's some stinkers in there too, but like at the end of the day, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't just like it's a paycheck, right? Like it was still entertainment. It was still fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some shows where I would be crying with laughter in the edit bay. There was a show we did called "Is She Really Going Out with Him?" It was on MTV, and it was we would get a douchebag. And literally, like it's just like douchey guy with like a cute little girlfriend, and they're just these guys suck because we all sucked when we were young guys, you don't know any better. You're just, and so you have these guys that are caught up, and we would go and film him with the girlfriend, and basically like give the girl the opportunity to be like, there's an ultimatum, like you're gonna stay with this guy or go, right? And but again, the show was fun because we made fun of these guys.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm like in the edit bay, we're just like writing jokes all day long, and it's like, God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm just talking shit all day long and having so much fun doing it. You know, so I mean that was television forever. Then the pandemic hit, and you know, during that time, it was a long stretch. I mean, I've been working in television for 20 years.
Yeah.
And pandemic hit, everything was slowing down anyways, and I was really burnt out.
Yeah.
You know, and so I left, and then I moved to St. Petersburg, Florida. I was like, I'm getting out of the game. My buddy had this like really great idea about like this all electric lawn company, and I was like, that's crazy. And he's like, you know, this is my idea. My dad. You know, put our, you know, we always had food and, you know, we lived a good life, and he was a lawn care guy. I'm like, it's interesting. So I started running the numbers, and I put together this thing, and I'm like, wow, there's actually money in this, and it's honest money, right? So we built this thing together. We had, you know, 8 full-time employees, and it was really doing well, but ultimately the workforce was what brought it down. Like, you know, these guys, they're hillbillies, you know.
Plus, nobody wants to work right now anyway.
Yeah, and nobody wants to work, and it was literally at that time when people were getting checks. And so, you know, these guys, they sunk the ship, right?
Yeah.
But so it was all during that time. That's when Joey called me up, and I was like, yo, man, I'm here. I told him, I was like, dude, you sound like a great guy, first of all, and if they're a really close mutual friend of ours. He was like, you guys have to meet. I've been wanting you guys to meet for a while. And again, like, what's funny also is like I did a bunch of music videos. It's like our parallels are insane. Lots of crossover. We're into the same stuff. It's crazy that we never ended up working on a project together. And so Joey called me up, and you know, it was about another project. And I was like, hey man, I'm here to help you. I'm not interested in this anymore. Like, I'm so burnt out, and plus everybody in the industry, they're all nuts, you know, and there's like this weird agendas, and I get along with everybody, you know, and that's fine, but I'm like, I'm tired of like just dealing with these people, and they're like weird emotions, and you know, so I was like, I'm here to help you in any way, and we just kept going back and forth, and then Protocol 7 came, and I was like, oh man, an opportunity to do a film. And
had you worked on films before? Like, so you're in LA, so you're all TV.
It was all TV, TV, you know, little silly projects with friends. You know, film related, and commercials and music videos and stuff, right? But it was always just television. And so that, he kind of just was like, dude, you got to do this with me. I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
The cool thing is, you know, him and I really connected on the fact that, you know, we had both worked on like all these like major, massive projects.
Yeah, because when we met, I was at Black Rifle, and you were trying to pull me onto projects, and I was like, I'd love to, but I didn't have to deal with Black Rifle. Like, some guys did that; they could go work other jobs, but they were paying me more than most of their other producers. So I was like, I gotta stick with them. So as soon as I got let go, I was like, Joey, what's going on? I think there was one where you were on the like Will Smith movie. I don't know if it would have gone over, but it just kept going. You're like, dude, you want it? Because I think I couldn't do it, but I remember you're like, hey, if you want to come down and work on the scissor lift and just like make sure that the light doesn't fall, I'm like, dude, I'm there. I can't remember what happened. I think I was like on another project or something right away. But I remember you called me on that one. I was like, the Will Smith movie? He's like, dude, they're just spending money. Man,
that was Apple TV, man. And they were,
I
think, the budget just ballooned, and that was
2022.
That was 2021.
Or
And yeah, I mean, it was a massive budget. I was the local best boy, right? And then I became like second unit gaffer, but I didn't want to be second unit gaffer, so I called my buddy Rob Gunderson, who is a crusher. And you know, because he's the one who kind of taught me everything about lighting, because everybody kind of like holds information. That's kind of why I wasn't even interested. You know, like, you can't really learn anything unless you're going to do it. But I wasn't, you know, doing much on my own to do that. But so once I, you know, finally said like, hey man, like, this is my career now. I need someone to help teach me this stuff. And Gunderson was the only person to do that for me. You know, he took me aside. He's like, this is how you use a light meter. This is why we do it. And you know, this is, you know, how you set the cameras. And I was like, wow, man, it's so cool. And he's just a great guy. But so I got him hired to do that job. And I was always working on the crew, and then going off and, you know, doing my little, you know, 2-3 week shoots, you know, and which was awesome, you know, that I had, you know, people who allowed me to, have that freedom,
Yeah.
But the cool thing, like what really connected us was the fact that like we worked on all these big projects, right?
Yeah.
Like, coming from the crew, I got to learn a ton about, set operations and, how budgets work, what equipment, is needed, how much time it takes to build a set, and like how many people are actually involved in that. And because it's so crazy, man, you get these, producers that they have no clue about any of that stuff. So they're just saying, no, it needs to be this. And everyone's just burnt out. And look, there is that side of things too. And you have to play the game, but in the end, what's going to happen. It just has to be the right time to kind of pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But like I said, we connected on the fact that like we worked on these things that ultimately were really fun and cool. Biggest explosions. Oh my God, there's Mark Wahlberg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't mean anything. They literally didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I did 7 years of NCIS New Orleans, 10 months a year.
Yeah.
And I can look back and be like, I don't even remember like one episode arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's all the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing regurgitated over and over and over again. So I think that that's kind of the biggest reason that you came back in, is because we had this film that was like super provocative. And a little out there, you know what I mean? And we like to stir shit up.
Yeah.
So when I read the script, I was like, ooh, Brian, do you want to get into something weird?
And it's very true. A big joke that would always get kicked around, and especially in the edit bays, was like, we're not saving lives, like you were making TV sausage, right?
Yeah.
But then but at the same time, when you step back for a second, you go, but like people look forward to this stupid show, right?
Yeah.
So there is power in that, which is really cool. It's entertainment. It gives somebody a release for a half hour or 45 minutes. Whatever's happening. And that's cool. So it's like, like it's the same thing over and over again, but it's something that people actually look forward to, which is, my wife loves all the housewife shows, right? And I can't stand them.
I love Love Is Blind.
That's funny.
I swear to, like we get together, like when the Minnesota season came out.
Oh, funny.
And it's the most, everyone hated it because it was the most undramatic. Because everyone's from Midwest. So they're all Minnesota, passive aggressive, nice. All the guys love each other. They're just like they all speak super highly. Any conflict is like resolved. There's like no, like it really is. It's like, and like
no wine in the face.
No, there's no wild personalities, and like there's a few plot points. I'm sure you read about it, but but it's really, if you watch the show, they weren't big plot points, but they just like try to make it bigger than what it is. And so there's like two, and they just keep prodding, and there's like, dude, you beat this horse like 4 episodes ago. Like this isn't, and they just keep coming back to it because there's nothing to go back to. And they're all making. I don't know if are you guys fans at all or gonna watch?
I haven't seen it.
I will watch it when it's on when Kara's watching it.
Well, spoiler alert. Only one couple gets married, but the 3 that don't are all very logical. They're all like, we just need more time together. And they're like, you're right. And that's it. Like, that's it. Like, there's no, which everyone that's watching the show is like, yeah, man, you just need more time together. Like, yeah. Anyway, so I don't know. I love Love Is Blind, but it was because it was the Minnesota season. We're like, awesome. And they also went to Roatan, which is where I go all the time for scuba diving with the foundation I'm with. So, like, we knew everything. Like, oh my God,
That's cool.
Yeah, it was funny. Like, I was like, we dove there. We dove that rock.
It's fun.
But anyways, that was, But,
I mean, it's entertainment. So it's great.
Yeah.
But like no matter what, there's always still that want to do something of more importance. Just to get a word out, right? So Joey's like, dude, you got to read the script. So I said, okay, send it over. I read it. I was like, whoa, man, like, okay, hold on.
That's when the poll was out, and I was just
just
starting to reel him in.
He set the hook, at that moment.
Yeah.
And I read, I was like, wow. And then my wife was pregnant at the time. And I never even thought to talk about vaccines, right? Because people don't talk about that stuff. When it comes to kids, everybody, get your sleep, get your sleep. Baby's going to keep you up. People need to be a little more deeper than that, right? And just as a culture, we don't. I get it. I understand. But even your family, people don't really talk about stuff, or, hey, we decided to do this because of, whatever reason. And so I read that, and then all of a sudden I was like, who's this Andy Wakefield character, right? So I started looking him up, And I'm like, could not find anything good on him, right? I'm like page 30 of Google, and finally I was like, positive, but communities, right?
It was like a blog post.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm against the grain kind of guy, I always have been, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, there's something here. Like if the world's saying this guy's terrible, and I read the reasons why he was quote unquote terrible, I'm like, this is not bad. He was pointing something out, right? He actually did his job as a doctor. So kind of interesting, right? So then I watched his documentaries and stuff, and it really opened my eyes and allowed Kara and I to have a conversation that would never have happened, because it's just assumed, right? You go to the hospital, baby comes out, and you just do what the doctors tell you, right? And we all of a sudden, it was a complete 180 of everything. We did a home birth, naturally, my wife and I are kind of crunchy anyways, and I don't go to I don't like doctors. Like I know my body pretty well. I listen to it, right? And of course, if I have a compound, I'll go to a doctor, but other than that, I feel like a lot of stuff is diet and
which I agree with you. I think that's something that we can get into that too. Is like, and we have kids. We had 2 kids, and my wife, because I was that way too weirdly. She's like, I called going to the doctor, like going to see the witch doctor or witch doctor meds. It was a joke because in the Marine Corps, you don't go to medical. So any ailment, dude, like I get a cut, I'm just draining that motherfucker and throwing antibiotics.
Dude, in the Air Force,
and that's it.
It's completely opposite.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So we like straight up like don't. So just that was always been like, I got a cold, just tough through it. Like my deployments, dude, I'd get fevers. Like I got to do the mission. So you tough through it, drink some water, hydrate, and go. Like, so I've always kind of been that way. And I didn't use ibuprofen until I was like 27, which was wild. And I used it. I'm like, dude, it's phenomenal. I used it like the one time I needed it. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, you're popping them like
my like Achilles like seized up when I was like, oh my god, like from my runs, and I pop it. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I can go back running, but always minimal. But yeah, I agree. I mean, like we can get into other stuff too, but like. It comes to kids like with us too. We were doing our Lamaze classes, and they're like, dude, they're gonna jump into. And my wife, it was our first with Finley. And they're like, they're gonna jump into C-section like right away. And I was like, that's pretty, not to say rare, but I was like, I don't know a ton of people that had C-section, so I was like, everyone's naturally like, they're gonna push for that. Labor, my mom was in labor for fucking 30 some hours. You know what I mean? We all kind of came from that generation of like, I was in labor for 24, 12,
well, you got a big head. So
yeah. That's exactly
hard to push you out.
Yeah, dude, I was like 24, I think. But like, and so, and then we get there, and they were right. Like, within like an hour and a half they're like, I think we got the C-section. And we were like, and I looked at my wife and I was like, can we like switch up positions here? Can we hadn't tried everything. And they're like, yeah, sure. Switch it up, right out. And I'm like, and then so my wife's kind of been more of a believer on that side, a bit more of like, maybe, not the, she's like, don't question everything. I was like, well, you can question it, but I mean, it doesn't mean you're right, but like, it's okay to ask questions.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is. And they were like, and they immediately want to go to C-section. I'm like, you didn't need it. And look what would have happened. If I wouldn't have spoke up, because when we were in the Lamaze class, they're like, speak up, do it. Like, and I was like, okay. And I remember being like, well, she doesn't want to get cut open. We don't want to go through, like, I'll push it. Like and we were only at it for like an hour and a half. So in my head, I'm like, our parents did this for like 20 hours. I think like, can we figure this out, And and then we did. And it was, so I agree with you. You're kind of like, hey man, like the field's great. Obviously it's amazing things, but you're like, okay, you're starting to get into some of those. I think some people are starting to wake up a little bit to like, there is money involved. This is easier. It doesn't mean it should be done. Maybe we want it. You did a tub birth. Like my wife would never do that, but I have friends that have, and they think it's great. And I'm like, some don't want to do the what do you call it? The getting the shot.
Induced or no.
Epidural.
Epidural. Yeah. My wife's like, getting epidural. Like, cool, sounds good. Like we know where we want to push, when we don't want to push. So
Dude, it's nuts. I mean, I know we're on this for a long time, but even now, we all have kids. And my first experience, with Katya and Misha, she was induced, and it was like this weird like scheduled thing. Hey, you're gonna be at the hospital at this time. We're gonna induce you, and by the morning you guys are gonna have the baby. And I'm like, cool. Like this is how it works.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. You know, things happen naturally.
Yeah.
And we realized, you know, with this second child that hey, we're gonna do things a lot differently. You know, so we went and talked to the doctor, and I'm like, hey man, we don't want to be induced this time.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you know, and it's like, it's all because you don't want to show up at 2 a.m. to deliver a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, regardless of when
it's like
she
a weird
goes
thing
into
like
labor.
that. It's like, well,
Babies it's like, well, a baby's not on the doctor's schedule.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
Dude, we were
yeah.
We're corralled like cattle, you know, it's
Yeah,
like, here we go. And it's on their time. And I'm like, we're not doing it this time.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of talk him into that. He was fine.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like the being induced, like we had like, there's a point where like you have to induce because it was getting further, especially with Finley. And then we were going to go in the next morning and then boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
Water breaks, you know, like, okay, cool, you know, like, and so like I get to some aspects, but yeah, it's some like, but you're seeing a lot of convenience over let this happen naturally.
That's right. Yep.
So it's like, it's you're getting into some really weird fields, and it doesn't help your case at all.
Right.
You know, like,
And it's what works for you and
Exactly,
your family.
yeah,
you know,
exactly,
I don't think there's a wrong answer, honestly. You know, like if you want to do that, great, you do that route. You know? My wife is a total badass. Like she's like, we're doing a home birth. I'm like, fuck, that's awesome. Let's do it. You know, and she was a complete, amazing. Like I have such a new deep love for her. Like seeing her, I was, you know, coaching her, right? Like, come on, let's, you know, helping her with her breathing and stuff. But it's like, dude, she's doing all this work. And it was so cool and incredible, you know? And I know we kind of went off road a little bit on that, but you know, again, it was because of our film that it opened new doors to us. And you know, talk about like just a higher purpose, right? Doing it, like being involved in a film that actually can change people's lives, right? And that's why when, you know, Joey sent that over, I was like, this is awesome. Like, we got to do this, you know?
And what was the evolution then from your script, or sorry, not your script, but you know, you're pitching to Brian and like, hey, we got a script to in the can to, you know, what is, you know, that's a challenge in itself. You know, I think that comment saying is
they
like,
they had a script.
You winning the lottery like 4 times in a row just to get it finished.
Oh,
you know?
dude. I mean, by the way, this is this is best case scenario. And by the way, you know, we'll get into that a little later on. But you know, with this one in particular, there was the script. They had, you know, a quarter of the money, and we needed to find the rest. Right. So we said, okay, you know, we've been down this road before. So we put the budget together, we put the schedule together, and you know, naturally by, you know, the director going out and speaking about this and finding, you know, people who were on board. I mean, there was tons of, you know, investors and donors, you know, right off the bat they wanted the story to come out, right? Because they're very heavily involved in this, and there's a lot of people in mainstream Hollywood and, you know, all types of different fields, massive business owners and things like that brand names that, you know, that, you know, donated to this film because they can't be outspoken about it, but they can put their money.
They can put their money where their mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, and which is really awesome. And you know, during that phase, luckily we had everything tied down, and you know, a really amazing gentleman wanted to, you know, see the stuff on paper, and it all worked out, and he sent us a check to finish the film.
And again, it's very much the lottery, right? People always ask, what does a producer do? It's like everything, you know, like literally every, and you know, it's every aspect from inception to completion, everything in between, you know, behind the scenes, on camera, like it's just, it's a never ending job. And, you know, like Joey had mentioned, we put together the budget, the schedule, which then allowed for that final batch of funding to come in. And then we had to put together the team, right? Then now you got the team, and we have, you know, we've got our schedule that we have to
abide by.
And, you know, it's like, oh my God, now we got to get these locations locked down. We have, you know, it's just the amount of work, and especially in a tight time frame. We were moving mountains. We really were on that film. We moved mountains, and it's, you know, also, sorry. when people would hear the director's name, you know, we were getting shut down.
Yeah.
So, you know, Joey and I would be on set, but we're like, man, we have to lock down this other location that we're shooting at in 2 days. You know, so you guys are good, cool. We got to hit the road, you know,
because somebody canceled. You know, after figuring
so
out what
like
it was.
they'll Google his name. And just boom.
Oh, yeah.
But dude, I mean, with that, just to kind of take it back a little bit, we recasted that entire film 3 months before we were shooting it.
Yes.
Really, I remember at one point you said it was Keanu Reeves was.
Yeah,
He was looking at it. It was talked. Yeah.
Whether he read it or not.
Yeah. I remember you were telling me about that.
And it would have been, you know, it would have been a great cat.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
Everybody was very hopeful.
Well, you always have your wish list, right?
Yeah.
And you know, the director always wants, you know, they always have this, you know, person in mind that they've envisioned, you know, throughout this whole entire process, and they're sometimes very hard pressed and stuck on that, right?
Yeah.
So it's up to us to like bring everything down to like a realistic level.
You suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to play that role too. Man, we got to be the bean counters also.
These goddamn bean counters are here.
But sometimes in a very, you know, creative way. Like we knew that, you know, the heroine of this film didn't have to be a big star. You know what I mean? We wanted somebody who, you know, who could emotionally attach themselves to the script.
Yeah.
Right. So we have this friend, Rachel Whittle, and I'd worked with her in the past on a proof of concept, and I'm like, God, this girl is incredible. So when they're casting, they're going after all these big names. I'm like, guys, first of all, we don't have a ton of money. Like all this is going to the script. There's a ton of locations. You know, we have to put this money on screen, and you know, we'll kind of trickle in some names, you know, with like Eric Roberts and things like that, right? So Andy had this this vision of this blonde woman, you know, as the heroine. Oh, she's got to be blonde, and I'm like, okay, that's, you know, we can make any, you know, hair color doesn't matter. We can make anybody blonde.
Yeah.
But
we'll call her blonde. Yeah.
I had sent Brian Rachel's reel, and he's like, oh, she's really good, man. You know, how could we figure this out? So we called casting, and because it was like coming down to the wire, you know, we needed to cast this person.
Yes.
And I knew she was going to be great. Brian knew she was going to be great, and he had seen her and kind of like, oh, I don't know, you know. Yeah. That's not what I'm looking for, right? Yeah. So I called casting. I'm like, we're gonna do this, you know, the correct way, right? Yeah. I said, hey man, we've got this great girl. We want her to audition. Send her the script, send her the lines, and let's get her taped. And 2 days later, Andy calls. He's like, Joey, I think we've casted the girl. Was this Rachel that you showed me? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh my God. And she freaked out. She loved it. She was able to, like I said, really connect to the story, being a mother herself. Yeah. And she crushed, absolutely crushed.
She killed it. I mean, nobody could have done a better job, honestly. Yeah. She is so talented. And she really, you know, she just crushed that character and did a great job. You know, we got very lucky. I mean, everybody, it was talk about hitting the lotto, like you mentioned. I mean, it was constant, you know, jackpots for us. We just got lucky at every turn, and there were so many hurdles and there were so many roadblocks, and Joey and I would just constantly kick those things down. And you know, for everybody else, it was a very smooth thing. For us, it was sleepless nights. You know? And it was a very daunting task across the board. But that's the thrill of it. You know, we're producers, man. Like we love this stuff. You don't. There is no, right? You have to make it work. You know, and you figure it out. And we constantly have a plan B, C, D. Like you just have to. You know, and so it's always this giant game of chess that you're playing against everybody, and even including yourself, right? Because you might be sold on a concept, but ultimately it's what's best for the project. You know, it's always the project is, you know, I like to call it the baby. You know, we're here. It's what's best for the baby. You know? And that's all that matters. Nothing else matters. And then when you see what's best for that baby, then you just have to, you know. Yeah,
it's like focusing on the story.
Yes.
You're like, hey, this is what it's for. Yeah. It's always story that drives. Yeah,
you have to really rid yourself of ego. And that's our relationship is so great because of that. You know, we've both had worked with people in the past who just, you know, they have to be on top of you at all times. It's like, hey man, like I thought we were working together. Yeah. And you know, that's what really, you know, drew me to, you know, to work with Brian, and you know, our relationship has really been incredible.
Yeah. I'm pinching myself all the time because it's like, this is the producing partner, like just my business partner that I've always dreamt to have.
Yeah.
You know, Joey brings the best out of me. You know, it's like we're a married couple, man. It's crazy, you know, and we build each other up, you know, like it's really cool to pour into each other. And we both have so much great experience in different areas and also life, you know, so it's like what's really cool for me, it's like, it doesn't stop at the job.
Yeah.
You know, we're constantly involved in our lives, our kids, like, you know, just it's a really cool. I'm just, you know, very blessed in our working relationship. You know, it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's sick. And so with the story, like say, you know, Protocol 7, getting it done and finished, and then with the atmospherics, like getting it out. How was that? I mean, like, you know, doing the pressers, you know, in generality, I know there's connections with RFK. There, you know, there's like vaccines in general. Like it's a very strong story in the time that we live in. And even this was like, you know, a year and a half ago, you guys were filming, you know, I think it was like what, 2022?
Yeah.
Fall 22, you guys shot, you know, and, you know, coming off the pandemic, and then like, you know, it's like even now, I mean, with the new administration and like, hey, we're retaking a look at all this stuff, you know, obviously there's a lot more probably resistance back then than per se now.
Certainly.
But what was the challenges of like, hey man, we're diving into like a crazy subject matter.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like a very divided thing within the US, the world, you coming off the, you know, your freedoms and all this other stuff, you know, and
I mean, it's all about,
everyone has their thoughts, and you know,
it truly is about timing. You know what I mean?
Timing,
and the timing has to be right for us. You know, it was a very strange time. You know, we saw the trajectory of, you know, the mindset of the people, and we're like, wow, man, like it's a great time to release this film. Well, boom, Joe Biden drops out of the race, you know, and we're like, oh crap, everything turned to politics, right? So we're like, oh no, like, you know, what are we gonna do? All of our press, like mainstream press, like got canceled. We're supposed to be on Fox News and all this stuff, Jesse Waters, and we're like, all right, you know, well,
that was just because he dropped out. Like they just took up because of what the cycle was happening.
We got eclipsed completely by just the
fact that
campaign,
in general.
You know,
Plus, they kind of learned their lesson when they, like when Andy did Vaxxed, you know, it got into Tribeca, right? And De Niro went on Good Morning America, and you know, the film got taken off Tribeca, like the lineup, right? So it got pulled, and it was like this big news deal, and like this anti-vax film gets pulled, and it's like it's a documentary, and it's interesting nonetheless, right? So obviously it was good enough to get into the festival. And De Niro went on Good Morning America and said everybody should go watch this film, and you know, at least
what year was that? Then when was that?
2016.
Oh, so it's okay. So it was like a minute ago. Yeah.
So got massive press, and you know, a lot of people were able to watch it because of that. So I think, you know, the press kind of learned their lesson, you know, to stay away from it, you know, from the name at least. But like Brian said, I mean, we're kind of eclipsed at every level, and you know, for us, we knew distribution was going to be very difficult, you know, for this film in particular. And so we came up with this idea, like, hey, what if if it's not going to find a home here in the U.S., why don't we build it?
Yeah.
You know, so we decided to develop an app specifically for Protocol 7. So we maintain all the IP, we maintain all the rights, and the further along we got in development of that app, you know, the more we spoke about it to, you know, other filmmakers, you know, we realized that it wasn't just our problem. You know, like this is a huge problem, like in the industry. You know.
Yeah, and this is a whole nother subject matter in itself.
Yeah.
Like the industry. Yeah.
So as we learned more, we decided to create a new home for independent film, you know, which we're calling Yow.tv or Yow TV, and that's entering beta in June.
Nice.
Yeah. And again, reaching out to fellow filmmakers, you know, just in general, you know, people who have a project that they can't put anywhere. Shorts, we want all that. We want it to be a community and a hub, an outlet. And, you know, one good example is music videos, what spawned great directors, you know, Guy Ritchie, for instance, right?
Yeah, especially in the 90s.
Yeah,
That's huge.
And that's gone. and there's really no other way to find this new talent, right? It's very interesting. I mean, everything gets lost in on the internet.
Yeah.
So another aspect of this is sort of like, hey man, this is a really great opportunity for people to come and to be exposed or whatever. So for us, it's like, we want this to be a community, for filmmakers, by filmmakers, and hopefully it can launch people's careers. It'd be amazing. I mean, that's what we love to do, right? We love building people and starting a PA, and then all of a sudden that PA is now an editor, or that PA is a showrunner of the, and it's like building people up, and just people putting in the work and then finding that person to do that. I mean, I love that. I love giving people that opportunity. I mean, I got that opportunity, right? So you want to pay it forward,
Yeah. Well, with independent film in general, they put all of their money onto the screen. There's never any money for marketing. There's never P&A. And a lot of first time filmmakers, they don't even know what that is. They're like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get out there. Everyone's gonna love it. And even if it wins on the festival, circuit, it goes to, you get on Amazon and Apple TV and Roku and all this stuff. It goes to the bottom of the list, because all of these places, and we say this all the time, all these places that used to be quote unquote bastions for independent filmmakers just became their own studios. Right. So now they're dumping billions and billions of dollars into their own content, which is losing money. And then they're telling you that everyone's watching it. Right. So they get the top banners of their own platform, and why wouldn't they?
So they made it. Exactly.
So
they're controlling all the
exactly.
Metrics,
Yeah.
That's a problem that we're looking to solve.
Because we were talking about that on the phone probably a few weeks ago. Was like Netflix used to have that where it was like, no, people are rating this show. I can't remember what it was, likes or something, or stars, I think at one point. But it was like people that love, like, and you'd find, again, this is the early streaming days of Netflix, where it was like, hey, this is a doc that you should watch on Netflix. And it would push to the front. Now it's just, dude, there's no.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. They're like top rated. Like, that's not top rated. That's just a list whoever like shook the dice, and that's your top rated top 10 of watching. That's not I know it's not logistics. Like, it's not.
Plus, everything's run by algorithms. Like,
by algorithm,
say your friend, tells you to go watch The Substance, and you don't like body horrors. You know what I mean? You'll watch it and be like, okay, it was fine, but maybe you don't like it. Well, guess what's going to show up on your list? A bunch of fucking body horrors. You know what I mean? And you're going to have a different, watch list than your wife, and you guys actually have two completely separate platforms if you go to your profiles. I'm scrolling through Katya's, like, I can't even find anything to watch that I want to watch.
Mine's full of kids stuff. Right?
I know.
It's my profile.
You should see my YouTube. It's just Bluey. Bluey and Super Kitties. But we're getting rid of, like, we don't have algorithms. Everything is hand curated. It's picked by filmmakers. And you can submit your film. And we're looking to just really give a voice, to these filmmakers. And
so, what's the logistics behind starting a streaming service? You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. I work with Vet TV. Their streaming service. You have Netflix. You got all these other ones that competing, Tubi's. Whatever. Now you got Yao.tv. What's that like challenge in logistics? The challenge in general with the concept, and then the logistics behind it, and then pushing it out. Like, so you guys are going.
Well, number one, the name. We're floating these names around, and this thing's been in development for almost 2 years.
I remember
since we released, Protocol 7. So, there's just so much, just the tech behind it. The money. It costs a ton of money to start one of these things. Being able to prove that there is a market for it, because what a lot of people do, there's these, streaming services that come out.
Every day.
They dump millions to tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars into, the platform into content. And they're kind of, ships in the night. They come and go, and they lose a bunch of money because they're all doing the same thing, which is acquiring the same titles that are available everywhere else. And for us, it's like, dude, there's great independent films out there, and we want to showcase that, because like 600 to 800 indies are created in the United States every year. And then if they are lucky enough to be, picked up or distributed, some of them, get picked up by a studio and they,
Yeah.
they go do their thing, they make some money, and the director goes and does something else, and that's wonderful. But that's so rare, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
we were talking about this, and it's not this was in the '90s. Like you were there or close to it. But us growing up, we all kind of grew up watching the '90s. Like the '90s and 2000s was a different era.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, you think about it, like Anora. Like what came out about Anora cost $6 million. Oh my God, won Best Picture. They spent $18 million on marketing, on the Oscar marketing, not even the marketing of the film.
Right.
So now you're balls deep in what, $50-60 million on a $6 million project. Like, is it truly that good? I mean, it's probably a really good film. It's Sean Baker, but like his first came out Tangerine, I think, in 2016. I never watched it, but we heard about. I was in film school, and they're like, check it out, shot on iPhone. It's wild. Wide angle, use whatever. Interesting story. Like I said, never watched it, but you're like, oh, back then I think that was the last bastion of truly independent film. It's like which is great. You got your A24s, but yeah, they've come into big studios and their marketing budgets and like.
Oh, they're just evaluated at like in the billions.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what everybody wants.
That's what everybody wants. But I mean, but I feel like when we talk about the Tarantinos, what we all grew up with, like, dude, that's not like the funnel is now blown open.
Yeah.
Because at least if you were, there's a funnel that would be like, oh my film maybe gets picked up from fucking Ohio. Well, it could funnel down and then he'd say Weinstein would pick it up or something. And then it's like, no, now you're getting a real film. Now you're in the system. Like you can't do what's his nuts. Jay and Silent Bob. The director. Wow, completely blanking on his name right now.
Yeah, it's a funny phenomenon when that happens.
Yeah,
now I'm blanking.
We're
literally was like looking at Clerks the other day.
Clerks. Yeah. Wow. Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith. So Kevin Smith, you can't do that today. No. You can't. Like, who gives a shit about some? Like, I don't care how amazing that movie is. It will never see the light of day. Right. And then back in the '90s, you could. You can't do that now. Yeah. So that we're in this weird ether era of streaming and like even YouTubers. Talk about YouTube. Like YouTubers aren't so much filmmakers because you're like, well, when's this guy's got because they're making a ton of money off of their channel. When's the last time you saw them like, you know what, I did it. Now I'm making a $10 million feature. None of them. Yeah. And I think Rocket Jump, this is my nerd filmmaker coming out. Rocket Jump tried, and they were like in that mid 2010s, like 13, 14. Massive, one of the biggest YouTube channels. They were filmmakers. They love movies. They were working with Corridor. They were working, and he was on a podcast with the Corridor. He's like, it doesn't fucking translate. They lived in Hollywood. No one gave a shit that they were making more money and had more views than any of the films come out. It did not matter. Yeah. Wow. Did not matter. Yeah. And so you're in this weird.
It is.
And it's a weird space.
Yeah,
that's kind of turning around.
Translate, like you said.
That's kind of turning around now. I mean, look at what they're doing with like Mr. Beast and all that. You know, they're seeing the value in these influencers.
Yeah.
Right, but. What I was gonna get to was,
but again, that's such a fucking one-off, though. That's not a guy with 2 million followers. That's a guy with
billions,
300 million, half the world, and then like he's worth like $1 billion. Then like Amazon offered him $1 billion. Somebody offered him $1 billion. He just turned it down. He's like, I'm not doing it.
And everything
he doesn't need to. No.
Everything that's greenlit is just based off their data. Which is smart. From a business perspective. Yeah. But when you have people crying. I mean, look at all the films that are tanking right now.
Oh my God.
It's nuts.
I love it because you're kind of like, all right, like let's get back to the real. Yeah. And again, you might feel it. I kind of feel it too. It's like, where does it go?
Yeah.
And in my opinion is like, look, if you go to the movie, that movie better be fucking good.
Right.
Because it was heading that way. There's some bangers that came out in 2019 into the 2020 award season. Like 2019 was a solid year for film. Parasite won, but it was bullshit. But like 1917, Jojo Rabbit. It was like the last bastion of like, let's go to the theater to watch this. And it was heading that direction, but the COVID just killed it. I mean, it was like put a bullet in the head. And so now we're like, Oppenheimer, awesome, made $1 billion. I loved it, phenomenal theater film.
Yeah.
It better be good.
That's right.
It better be. And there's a bunch of movies that are like, you know what? We'll wait till it comes to home. So if you're gonna drag me to the movies and to make that budget, it better be so crazy up there. And I hate to say like production studios, but like. Still though, like we were talking about it before, it's like, well, now theaters are hurting. Yeah. So theaters, I don't know, you might know better than I do because you guys are trying to distribute a film, which is, hey, where do we, the big studios are failing. No one's watching Snow White. Yeah. Maybe we should lend a hand, A24 is drawing people, maybe we should lend a hand to the independent filmmakers can you open up a few theater? I don't know. I feel like it's kind of moving that way because Kevin Smith owns a theater now. He's like, I don't care if you're stealing films, like buying a ticket and jumping one. Just go buy more popcorn because that's where they make their money.
Yeah.
And no one's coming to the theater. And you got axe throwing and a bar and a restaurant in the theater now, which is awesome. But and beer and everything, and that's great. In the theater, they're trying to make money off of the movies, and I don't know. Like I feel like it's kind of has to go back to. I mean, the stories, man.
Well, that's it.
It's story. It still comes down to story, man. Like
always.
And like, there was a big funnel in the '90s, but did you watch Face Off? It's a crazy story, but it's an amazing story. They treated it as if it was like real. It's the baby. It's it, and it's fucking awesome.
Are you talking about John Travolta and Nick Cage?
Yeah, Face Off. The Rock. You have. I mean, like that's why those are bangers. Armageddon. Even on the other films, like There Will Be Blood. Like my wife makes fun of me all the time. She's like, you only watch action. I was like, I will sit down and watch There Will Be Blood, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So it still comes down to story.
It is.
And I don't know. I just feel like I said, you guys are a little more into the landscape than I am, but I'm still kind of like looking in to be like, dude, I still want to direct films. This is a crazy ether. How do you? And the Hollywood system's dying.
Yeah.
What is it? Where do we go?
I mean, I think it boils down to not taking the risk, and that is Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood's a roulette table.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go. A studio should be putting their chips down on numbers.
Yeah.
And spinning the take it for a spin. I mean, like it's all big risk, and like what Joey mentioned earlier, I think a lot of it's analytics now, and again that does make sense from a business perspective, right? But that's not Hollywood. It's never been. That's the magic of Hollywood.
They've been playing the same number for quite some time.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially the last 5,
they've been
6
letting it
years.
ride on that same number, and it's like
you
gotta mix it up because I mean everybody's different. Again, you pick what works for you and your family, and that's great. We should have that variety, and instead things are just kind of getting pushed into this one little box, and I truly believe that. That's not what Americans want. It's not what moviegoers want. People want that variety, take the risk. And I see all sides. I understand. You're putting up a lot of money.
You guys had to get your money. Imagine like $100 million. We gotta make this motherfucker work. You gotta make it work.
Right. You're answering to a lot of masters at that point too. But again, it goes back to that is the magic of Hollywood, and that in a weird, sad way has kind of gone away.
Well, everything just became corporate. I mean, they're owned by the same 3 companies.
Right.
Every streaming service is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, what do you expect?
And so what are the challenges you guys see in that? Like you just made you guys just got off your second feature film. So congratulations. That's huge. How do you guys move forward with that? Like, like again, business aspect. How did you guys make, no, you have to go into the details, but like Protocol 7, making money, this next feature coming out, how are you going to make the money? How are you going to get it out there? Kind of like questions people have, like what is success? What is, hey, breaking even, or like, hey, we learned a lesson, or, something, or,
Yeah. Well, this one's very different. It's a totally different market. It's all, the whole film is in Thai.
Yeah.
It's a very, beautiful story, and
the images look amazing.
It's Jordan Bogart. Shout out to cinematographer Jordan.
Crushes it. Yeah,
he did an incredible job.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is we're very blessed in the sense of we have been able to link up with a team of people who they want certain stories to be told, and we get to tell those stories, which is really, really great. So I would think my piece of advice would be to any filmmaker out there is find your tribe, and when you do, things click and they come together. I think a lot of people are just constantly just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks.
I agree.
Well, they're making things that they're trying to make things that they think other people want.
Right.
No.
It's
make what you want to see.
Exactly.
And that's a very hard road to go down. Because typically what you want to do, it's hard to find funding for, but you got to do that work, when you're making something that you think people are going to like, there's a lot of other people who think people will like that also. So it comes a little easier collecting that funding, but ultimately you're, you're not as invested. You're creating something that that it's fine. It's gonna serve its purpose. But again, just going back to like finding that tribe. It's very very hard. I mean, you can go a lifetime and not find that tribe.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I think that's that hard thing. It's like not only finding the tribe, then finding the tribe with money. Find like I said, backers that are like, or anybody that's like, yeah, I'm willing to throw it like 100,000, 200,000. Then you could get like. So just because I think on my end, you guys are in it, but I mean, like the people, you've been in that situation too. You're like, okay, man, we got 500,000 or we have $1 million or 2 million. Like, how do we make this work? And then how do we make it back? And how do we keep people happy where if it doesn't make back, they're like, yeah, let's do that again.
Yes.
Like let's do it again.
Right.
Like we love the product. That happens. How many films have we watched over the years that like, that was a banger movie. Yeah, lost 50 million.
That's
but
right.
Yeah, but it was fucking good though. It just, even Hollywood has those. We're like, yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah.
We know it was great. It worked. Just didn't find an audience. Maybe something happened.
It's timing.
You know.
And it's, I think ultimately it's the long ball, right?
Yeah.
All of the stuff needs to be that. You have to have somebody who's understanding and patient. It's like you're not going to make all your money back on opening day, and and if you do, wonderful. If not, it might take a couple of years. Sometimes stuff takes time for it to catch on. Yeah, and so
have you guys seen that with like? What the distribution seems like in the marketing seems like it's own beast, and that's what I've learned. You gotta have to be if you want to jump into this, at least like read or hear other people talk about it. It's like that's how I learned a bunch of my stuff too, like talking with you or like watching a YouTube video and somebody like, we got fucked by our distributors. Don't go here. This is how you make your money. You get B list, A list here. If you want to get someone in, pay them for 2 days. All these little nuances you can find now, but now you have to execute. But distribution though, I've heard that's and then. It's like, oh yeah, how do we, and just in corporate world or YouTube world, like what is our marketing? What is our distribution? Yeah. Is it getting in front of people's eyes? I've even clients now are like, yeah, let's, that video you charge like 15 grand, we love it, but it's just not doing well. It's like, yeah, because I'm not a marketer. Yeah. Like I give you the project and I walk away and I move on. Yeah. I'm not your marketing team, which is, essentially distribution with film too. So it's like, where's that world sit now? Like we were talking about theaters, talking about, like just distributors. Like I've heard a bunch of them went under. They owned a bunch of IP and now they hold, Dude, it's a nightmare with
Village Roadshow just went under.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They just filed for Chapter 11 like last week.
Yeah.
Massive, The Matrix.
Yeah.
Massive films.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Someone will absorb them.
Yeah.
But usually it doesn't even get to that point. Usually it's like under the table. Someone swoops in. But the market is so terrible right now. Yeah. For those big films, it's hard, man. Look, everything's changing, and you kind of have to be at the forefront of that change, and not try to chase after something that that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So we know the models are changing. We know that the content, the way that people absorb content these days is changing. The long form stuff is more and more difficult for people to grasp and pay attention to. We have literal categories called second screen. Going to distributors because people are on their phones all the time. And they don't want to go to the theaters. It's a strange place, man. We're constantly navigating and trying to put ourselves ahead, which is what we think we're kind of doing with the OutTV and providing a home strictly for independent film. Yeah. And for us, it's like we just have to be real and genuine about it, because that's what's most important. And gain the trust of the filmmaking community, and that's kind of goal number one for us right now.
Yeah, because it seems like too. The landscape is rapidly changing. Like streaming was a medium fast change. Like you saw it coming over the horizon. I was in film school in 14 to 16, and that I don't know, maybe it's just because I was into making movie, going through film school, but did feel like that was like those some crucial years of like. House of Cards came out, so that was like Netflix. The first time Netflix really blew it up. Prestige TV was really coming into play, and then streaming took it over, and then streaming starts coming out. Because I remember that like Amazon, you could submit a script and they might greenlight it.
Yeah,
like
you could submit your film. You could just put your film on the marketplace.
Yeah, exactly.
Netflix too. You could submit your film.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like, now we're on the other side of the streaming where people are like, fuck streaming. They're like, I can't do 20 apps. I can only do 10 apps. Right. So now the stuff they have is crap. Now, you're watching the same stuff, or just, I feel like now we're on that side. So now what's next?
Well, that's why
and streaming services are trying to consolidate too.
Yeah.
Like they're consolidating. It's not working. Oh, now we're back to ads. Sweet.
Yeah.
I pay for Amazon. Now I got to pay for fucking ads.
Dude, now we're back to literal broadcast television with fast channels.
It's come full circle.
It has.
I was watching Prime, and I'm watching like Heat. I'm like, cool, because I'm just like, cool, Heat. It's in my Prime.
Yeah.
Fucking 2 minutes of ads, and I'm like, go ad free. I'm ad free. I pay for Prime.
Yeah.
And it's like in Netflix. I don't know what it's at to now. Now they have the ad version.
They have tiered systems.
Yeah, it's like I think it's like $4 for ad version now, and we still pay 15. Because you've been paying. It keeps going up, and you're like, well, I'm paying 15 now. They're like, well, hey, if you want to scale back, it's $5 for ads. I'm like, well, now you have people paying a shit ton, but you're still getting ads. So now you can see that they're trying to make as much money as they can, obviously, but like, it's. Where does it go? Now we're trying to figure that out again. And like YouTube space feels like it's, as filmmakers, I think it's a bit different. I think content creators or whatever, or how you're building that platform and how you make money. I mean, a lot of people can. I don't know if you would. There's some really cool indie sci-fi channels that are like, hey, shorts. Like shorts. Like, oh, that was a great short. Maybe we'll hire that kid or something.
Yes.
But, I agree with you. I think that starting your own streaming service or figuring stuff out, or going to places to find the new next filmmakers. I think that's like, I don't want to say it's gone, but it is like, I feel like maybe, I don't know, I don't say it died out, but it's like, for me, like, there's so much content. I used to be a connoisseur of film, like we're all film nerds, like you could name off the directors of that film, the producers, the writers, because it was funneled, and these were the primo, and they were, by the way, they were great. Like you're talking about like meritocracy. I know people were like, wow, it's Gates in Hollywood, but yeah, but they're still great. Like it's still funneled down to the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
It still came down to the best people. Now it's just like, dude, I don't even know. There's so many. My wife is watching 4 shows that have 7 seasons. I never even heard of them.
Yeah.
It's wild. There's some witch show she watches, with like, by the way, actresses that I used to love 10 years ago. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, oh my God.
They're on a witch
she's
show
right there.
now.
Oh, she's on a witch show. That actor too. And you're like, I've never even heard of this show.
Well, if you think about it, and this is kind of our mindset, if you think about like the music industry, right?
Yeah.
And how flooded that got, how crazy
yeah.
it got like after Napster, right?
Yeah.
Napster came out, and that was the streaming of music.
Yeah.
And then, what kind of saved independent artists was Spotify.
Yeah.
Like it really, it changed the landscape completely, and they had to restructure everything.
Because I know nothing. I knew it got totally screwed, but I don't know anything about the music.
Yeah. But what Spotify did, even though like there was a lot of artists that didn't want to jump on because they weren't, quote unquote, getting their record sales, but record sales are over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah. So they had to jump on the ship.
It's like DVD sales.
Right.
Yep,
So there's tons of music content. It became very easy when everything was digitized, right? And it's the same thing with film. So now you can go buy a Blackmagic or even like a Sony FX6 or 3 for less than 10 grand with like a decent lens on it.
Yeah.
And you can shoot a movie.
Yeah.
You know what
Oh, yeah.
It's become so much easier, whereas before it was a very technical craft that took a massive team and a ton of money, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. We're like, okay, this is very similar to like the pathway of what happened with music. And we basically have to be like the Spotify of film, and create a community-driven streaming platform that helps independent creators, right? Rather than pushing them to the side.
Yeah.
Because people want, there is a ton of content out there, and a lot of it is crap. I mean, we're filtering through thousands of titles.
Yeah.
We've got a great team that's doing it. But some of those things are incredible, right? And they've never seen the
light of day.
The light of day.
Yeah. No, I know. I think, like I said, that's that. It's a great time. It's the worst time.
Yeah,
it really
very interesting.
It's interesting because it's never been before.
By the way, I've been like shivering over here. My feet are so cold.
I'm sorry. It's cold.
It
It is.
my voice a few times. I'm like,
Amanda's gonna laugh because she's like, "You need a heater." I was like, "I know." And this is actually warmer, dude. It's like because it's been warming up here. I'm like, "Oh, this is actually they'll be okay downstairs," And it's I apologize.
it's fine.
No, yeah, and I figured you were.
It should be like a show. It's like, how long can they?
The meat
How long
locker.
can they last in the fucking freezer? Or it's like,
Joe is here on Monday. He's out of Virginia, and he's just like, God. You can kind of see him. He's like, we went 4 hours.
Oh,
and
wow.
so he was just like, I could see him like this, warming up.
Everyone just looks like a crackhead on you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like, oh my god, I just like offer hoodies. Like, here you go.
Yeah,
I know. We're fixing it. I got the studio.
Or like a Snuggie or whatever.
Yeah. The heating's next. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I thought it was amazing. And when I was in film school, that was the big debate, was film to digital. And I was like, dude, it's digital, like all the way. Like I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, who? First of all, then they started making us work with film on 8mm and 16mm.
Wow.
And I was like, absolutely not. Like you gave a whole appreciation though for the craft.
Oh, yeah.
And again, when people go, well, I want to shoot on film, like you're not an indie film. If you're shooting on film, especially 35, you're not an indie film.
No way.
Like even Jordan Peele's like, yeah, where's the indie film that with Alien one he did? Shoot on fucking IMAX. That's 3D with like IR filters with Van Hoyt. Like you're not. It's $35 million. You're not an indie film.
Category.
You're not a category. If you're shooting on an IMAX film, you're not an indie filmmaker. No. Or the film's not an indie film. It was. I remember him saying, I'm like, that's way out of league. No way.
Yeah.
If you're shooting on film in general, you're, because they're like, oh, some of these indie films are like, have you shot on film?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's
what they're doing
not
now,
fun. It's not fun.
What they're doing now, because everything got so clean, like when like Red came out and everything, people can tell, it really takes you out of the story. Like watching these older films, especially like in the 90s, they were still shot on film. There's something about it, and it's like, it's magical, it's cool. There's something about the look right?
Of it,
And now everything is just, it's super clean, and it takes me out of the story, right? So now what they did, for instance, with the creator, they shot
FX3s. Yeah.
They ran it through film. They put it on, I think, 35mm or 16mm. And then digitize it again.
Yeah.
Oh,
so it gave it the look,
yeah.
which is really
after
cool.
they were finished. Like they like printed it and then re-digitized it and then printed it again. Yeah.
The grain and the just the noise in the picture and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's too clean.
And like I said, going through film school, I remember we were having that debate, but also it was just like, dude, you can do some banger stuff. Like, you got a good story, you can go make. But again, though, then that it democratizes everything. But it's still, because people were like, well, now everybody can make everything. I was looking, no. I mean, at the end of the day, three of us are talking about films. We make money in the industry in our own separate ways, but we're still here. Yeah. It's like, that was 10 years ago, man. I only know like 2 people from my class that are even remotely close to doing it. And that was Minnesota. Yeah. I don't know how LA is, you know what I mean? Like, I was talking with Kerry Kite, and he's like, dude, LA is like, people come and go. I mean, I had people
dead.
Yeah,
dude, you're talking about people from film school. I know a handful of people who are still in the industry that were working 2 years ago. Yeah. Because this industry is so dead. Yeah. Because they're taking the things that they are shooting. They're not shooting in the U.S. It's too expensive.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. I just saw a clip of Rob Lowe and Adam Scott, on Severance, and Rob Lowe was like, he was very candid about it. Like, you could tell he was like pissed about it. He's like, we don't shoot in LA. We don't shoot here.
Nope.
We don't shoot here.
It's too expensive.
He's like, they were talking about Parks and Rec because they were both on it together. He's like, we'd be shooting in Prague for Parks and Rec because there's no rebates. California's terrible to shoot at. They don't do it anymore. Yeah. Like, Louisiana, where you were at, that picked up for a while.
Yeah. It was huge.
It was huge. I was in film school, and there was actually one guy suggested I go down for Black Panther to be like a military extra. I was way better shape, much smaller back then in film school, and he was like, dude, you should go. And I was like, thanks. I was doing other stuff, but I was like, yeah, cool. But he was like, it was all in Atlanta. Yeah, he's like, they were shooting Black Panther and all this other stuff. He was like an actor coming. Again, though, in the stories going to LA were never encouraging. Yeah. Everyone that was, man, it's just like, and I was like, I've never had the drive to go out there. But now it's like, now everything's democratized, digital. You can start your own YouTube channel. You could, filmmaking. You can do, again, man.
You could be anywhere.
Well, you could rent an Ari. Like, you can rent an Ari. By the Ari Alexas, they cost $6,000 now on what they shot all the big features on throughout the 2010s. You can go on eBay and buy one for $6,000.
Yeah, the big bodies.
They're big bodies, but dude,
everybody. By the way,
some people are like, dude, they sold great.
If you're looking for equipment, the time is now. Everybody's selling theirs.
Yep. Yeah. You know what's really funny too is speaking of film, so back in 2016 to 17, right? Everybody jumped to Ari's Reds and everything, right? So the Ari 16mm 416 was like the primo for like Walking Dead, all like a lot of major. I mean, you probably know some of the TV. Everything was shot like whatever, television, the big series, Breaking Bad, all shot on 16 mil.
Yeah.
And so the 416s were like the big, it was like updated SR3, et cetera, right? So I remember I looked on eBay at one point. These things were like 70, 80 grand.
Yeah.
They were down to like fucking 10.
Yeah.
It's 16 mil because that was like film was gone.
Yep.
It's too expensive. No one wanted to work with film.
Yeah. Nope.
And I remember like I couldn't afford it, but I was like, man, I should buy one of these.
Yeah.
But within 2 years though, that the trend stared coming back, dude, you couldn't even find them. Then they went back up in price. So it was like this crazy fluctuation of like, and now, and same with in Hollywood, you can rent RE Alexas for like $500 a day with like a full lens kit because everybody bought one trying to be owner operator and it saturated the market.
Yes.
But no, now's time to buy one if you're.
I mean, that game's always changing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
always good to have glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't,
Yeah.
camera bodies come and go.
Yeah, exactly. Glass is where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know. I mean, like I feel like you said in filmmaking, where is that? I don't say how do you make it now, but it is kind of like how do you get to that Dune? Denis Villeneuve. How do you get to that? Chris Nolan. He did. I wasn't a fan of Memento. Everyone loved it. But I mean, he had the film like Pi or something before that. I can't remember what it was before that. But it's like, yeah, man. Like, I don't know. It's weird. You don't feel like you're like, oh my god, I made this feature, this indie dude. Let's give him this $40 million Insomnia with Al Pacino and fucking what else was in that. That was like his second film.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happened. Right. I mean, look, they're trying to do that right now. I think it was Warner Brothers. Whoever did Mickey 17. I mean, that was over $100 million budget with Old Boy from Parasite.
Yeah.
And I mean, technically, is he really an indie director?
Well, he had done Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
And then Parasite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these things are bombing, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's the budgets. It's and it's like you don't need that. Do we really have to spend $150 million on every movie?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, no.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, I think that's where A24 comes in because it's like 10 million, and they do.
Yep.
They did that at Blumhouse.
Yeah.
A24.
Yeah. Blumhouse does like they have a cap on. I think their budget's like 5.
Yeah.
And they do like 5 a year.
Yeah.
A bunch of them in New Orleans.
Yeah. But they're all high concept, great stories.
Yeah, and one of them hits.
And one of them hits.
Makes all the money back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
They have a very
And even then, even if they don't make it, you're like, oh, that was kind of a good. You might go check it out because the name now is involved. Like A24 name, you might not like everything, but they're like, well, there's some artistic quality and baseline to A24. So even if you don't like it, all right, well, there's something there.
You'll appreciate it.
You'll appreciate it exactly. Yeah. Like I finally watched Civil War, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't that good. But you're like, it's A24. It's a big concept. They got that new Warfare movie. I think we texting, and everyone's saying it's good. See how it is. But it's funny though that they see the same model. They're all in one house in Iraq. They all got to fight their way. This isn't some big sweeping Black Hawk Down. It's still one location.
They're smart.
They're smart.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like. Everybody, they these directors and writers and indie guys who like want to go make these films, like they have these really high concept films, and one thing you really have to pay attention to is the script and can we make this for a small budget, because you just have to be smart in that process, and I mean we still say like, dude, this is too many locations, what are we doing here? We got to pare this thing down, and if you truly want to go make a film, you can do it. You can, even if it's just a proof of concept. To try to go, raise more money for that film. Make it. Be smart in that process, and ensure that you're not wasting a shitload of money.
Have a goal.
At
the end of that. Because if you're going to spend 10, 20,000 of your own money or investors' money to even a proof of concept.
Some of my friends out in Louisiana, Rachel, they just did a horror movie for like $50,000. They raised the money, family and friends, and they shot it in 12 days. And it's like done.
It's in the can.
And they're selling it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, where they're distributing it through, or like what's the?
I can't say.
Oh, can't say. Okay,
because the deal's still being made. They're getting a good deal. Because they didn't spend $5 million on a movie. And because no one's buying anything like that anymore. If you're getting any minimum guarantee, it's like maybe a couple $100,000, maybe $100,000 for a big, a bigger budget film that's good.
Yeah.
And then you're tied up in like a 7-year contract exclusively.
That's where people get in trouble, right? Some of that, like, that's why I've heard of some of those nightmares of like, yeah, we got our money, but now somebody else wants to pick us up and pay for it and distribute it. And like, nope, we own it for 7 years. It just sits there.
That's right.
It sits there.
Yeah.
It sits
and
there.
then it's gone.
And that's gone. And no one's going to, yeah. It's like, that's the end of that.
Yep.
It's true.
Well, yeah, TV. We have
TV.
non-exclusive contracts.
There we go.
If you sell it, God bless.
Yeah, yeah. And so, what do you guys think? It looks like you guys have been in it more, and obviously, I kind of looking in. You've been in it. You're in LA. You're in Louisiana. Into the film, and obviously making films. 2 features under your belt. That's a pretty big fucking deal. Especially in our day and age. What is that next step, or where do the DVD sales go? Where do guys go now, or people go to make that money back? Because that was another thing Matt Damon talked about. It was like, hey, the reason why we don't see $30 million comedies, $50 million concepts, whatever. Because
high risk films,
yeah. It's like it's gone. Like DVD sales is gone. So what fills that void? Streaming doesn't feel like it is because it's streaming.
It's overpopulated. I mean,
it's overpopulated.
Tubi has 250,000 titles.
Yeah,
they're toting it, which is great.
Yeah,
but they're an ad company.
Yeah.
That's their whole purpose.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But
so they just sell ads on top of their 250 titles, Tubi.
Yeah.
Basically, they're an AVOD model, strictly AVOD. It's free, for the viewer, but you're going to sit through a bunch of ads, which is fine. I mean, that's where everybody's kind of making money right now in advertising. But I don't know. I think the outlook is good, for independent films and filmmakers, and something has to change, and somebody has to be at the forefront of that change. So.
Yeah. Do you guys see anything on the horizon? I mean, like technology-wise. Because like VHS changed the game, streaming changed the game. I mean, right. DVD, but DVD came off the back of VHS. You know what I'm saying? Like
digital's not going anywhere. If anything, it's just going to evolve into blockchain and stuff like that, which is really cool because at least then, you own it.
Yeah.
The thing is with like Prime, for example, like I buy a bunch of stuff on Prime, especially kids movies, because Misha's going to watch it 5 times and I'm not going to rent it 5 times.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the PVOD, and buy it for $25 and have it in my library. But as soon as I'm done with Amazon,
you lose that.
All that's it's gone.
Yeah.
It's just like iTunes. Like you can't download anything to your computer anymore. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's I mean that's never going away. Where we've just got to kind of evolve the process and.
Well, everything's just moved into that subscription-based model.
Yeah. Which
sadly everybody's accepting that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like if you're done with that particular app, then you lose all that content.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
But a lot of people aren't really. They're not necessarily buying anything anyways. They're subscribing or watching stuff for free. I mean, how you make your money back is transactional stuff, but it just takes a lot longer now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because, you have so many more eyeballs on this stuff.
Yeah.
But that's, we're in the middle of it all. The dust has not settled yet. So nobody really has any answers. And, you look at Netflix and they're completely over-evaluated. It's basically a pyramid scheme where, on how things are working. They don't share any of that data, Yeah,
that's always been shady to me.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, even like you hear guys talk about it on like podcasts. Like Joe Rogan was one, like when they gave him like 20 million or ship out whatever. He's like, "How's it doing?" And they're just like, "Good."
Yeah, that's it.
It's like, or the biggest show on here, you can't tell me how many numbers it's getting. You know what I mean? Like once in a while, Disney will throw it out there because they have a show tank.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh no, this is the thousands of streaming hours," but then they like compare it to like something that people actually watch. You're like, that's not even close, So it's like, it's in the millions or whatever, but that's actually not that good. Like, or in the hundreds of thousands of hours. It's like, actually, that's not that good. Especially for how much money you just blew $100 million on this, that's not getting any eyes.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Yeah, it's kind of weird with Netflix. They just don't, and I think that's a little bit with YouTube. I at least feel like that's a bit like, no, we know this is good.
Yeah.
Like it's good. And we're showing you the analytics.
Yes.
Right here, this gets 1.1 million views. And then you can dive deeper. Like how long did people watch it?
Yeah.
That's like the next step.
Well, you as a creator get to see that, like in your own back end. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, you're trying to figure out what works here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
boom, this is working. Okay, I'm going to shove more ad dollars into this
Yeah.
because I know how many people are watching this, and it's, you know, it's helpful for the film world. It's hard for the public to understand anything. I mean, even us, you know, as far as the data goes there, but that's changing too. There's a new company called Luminate. You might want to look into subscribing. It's all database.
Was it like
Film stuff? It's brand new. They just premiered it, I think. They've been working on
What
it
do
for,
they do?
for a couple of years. It's all film related data. So it's streaming. It's
it's like they know the numbers then behind Netflix, or you're
some
saying
of it. I don't know about Netflix.
Okay,
But you know,
like Tubi and shit like that.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, more involved IMDb basically. You know,
okay.
more in depth. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like a little. Okay, so it's like a. You can actually look at
It's
your
all
number.
it's all of entertainment too.
Yeah,
It's
you
it's
get
not just
all the
film.
information, you know,
To the T.
cast, you know,
Yeah.
crew, all that stuff, and then also, you know, analytics as well.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
They were just at South by. We sent our head of acquisitions over there. I was one of the keynote speakers. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because like I said, I'm in moving forward. What do you know? How do you guys feel about everything moving forward? You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's just such a,
because you're really in it. That's why I like asking these questions.
Yeah.
I would love to be in it, or like hopefully get my foot in there or do something. But like, you guys are in it, especially at, I won't say at our level, but I mean, like, you guys aren't Hollywood producers, so that's way out there. But you're not YouTubers. You guys are making movies, features, physical things with backing. You're in the trenches. You know what I mean? Like, you feel it. Like, you're like, oh, we got a few million, but like, we need to get the money back. We got to figure out where this lives and stuff like that. It's not doing a passion project on throwing up on YouTube. Like, you guys are really in it. Like I said, what do you guys feel? How do you guys feel moving forward and stuff like that?
Again, it's such a long ball game now.
Yeah.
None of it is not going anywhere. Like I said, we're in it. The dust hasn't settled, and I think it's got to be a lot of patience and just managing expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm optimistic.
Yeah, same.
I always.
Well, you have to be.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah.
I still have
And that's
delusions
why-
of directing $100 million films.
Yeah.
Like, it's still in my mind. Like, I think I can pull it off.
Yeah.
You got to be. Yeah,
But,
yeah.
that's why we're
Yeah.
disrupting.
Yeah.
I hate that word, so is Brian. But that's why we're doing what we're doing with Yao. It's like we want to be a part of the change, and it's if we're not going to do it, somebody else is going to do it. And, it's we have to provide a voice, for not just filmmakers but for viewers.
Yeah.
To have a place where they know it's highly curated, real stories, good stories that you've never seen before.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's this, like I said, I like the fact that you guys do with Yao is like, there's a standard.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be some kid out, like
Correct.
some shitty
Yeah, it's
film
not
school
open
project
source.
that gets thrown out, like stuff that we made. It was like,
There's enough of that out there.
exactly. Like, we'll just take anything. It's like, well, no, like, if there's a talented kid that did do something, you're like, all right, well, here's at least people's eyes can get on it. Maybe they'll find,
Well, the cool thing about Yao
you know.
TV is that it's community based and driven. Like, there's social aspects to the app that are coming in beta in June, which are we'll talk a little bit about them. But for instance, like, I keep going back to the Spotify thing. Where you can create a playlist, and that playlist might rock. Because people want to go listen to it at the gym, and now people are sharing it. And now you're editing a bunch of different playlists, and we're doing that with watch lists.
Yeah.
Kind of like Letterboxd, but on the platform itself. So you can join Yao TV, create your profile, choose to make that profile public or not, and then create or share or collaborate with different filmmakers or viewers or both. So that's kind of cool. Very different.
So no, I dig it. So it's almost like the social aspect of, like, Netflix. I won't give them any ideas, but you know what I mean.
No,
Like,
it's not their it's not their game.
It's not their
Like,
game.
we're not
Well, they
worried
got way
about
too
that.
many people running that. I mean, I think that would be a chaos.
Yeah.
If you like looking through and it's just comments. On
We're trying to create a community,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
at least
Yeah.
at least give an outlet, to the community.
Exactly.
Because it's just
Well, I think that's great, because then if there's somebody that's talented, somebody can then, sorry for freezing out.
every once in a while, I just gotta get it out.
Yeah, there's like, if there's somebody that's talented, you can see that on your platform. Maybe there is a Hollywood producer's like, we just need some fucking new people.
That's right.
We just need some kid we're gonna pay $5 million to direct something or
Yes.
produce or
Yeah.
to, you know,
Yeah,
see a
'cause-
producing team. They're like, oh, they're part of that team.
Yeah, we're really
Yeah.
focused on shorts right now.
Yeah, which by the way, it's still I think is a great concept. I mean, I think at one point there was where like guys would write their scripts or they would shoot that short and
Yeah.
then send it with
Yeah.
you know
Oh, yeah.
do the teaser trailer
yeah.
or do like a you know.
Yep.
I heard it doesn't work as much as these days, but I'm like, well, I still think that's a
No, it's
good
still
idea.
being able to showcase your
Yeah,
work.
showcasing your
You know,
work.
people do it for multiple different reasons, whether that's raising money or just
Yeah.
you know adding stuff to your reel.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like, why not have a platform beside Vimeo or YouTube, which is just they're amazing and incredible, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's flooded with people, right? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so saturated.
Yeah.
For us, it's like when you come here, you know that you're going to find something good.
Yeah.
If it's a short, it can be monetized, right? So like whether it's ad based, I mean, we're not going to break up the short in the middle of the short. It's a
Yeah,
short
yeah.
film, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll have 1 or 2 ads before that. That filmmaker is going to make money on that short, you know, which is like usually they just you know,
Just
they
sit
sit
somewhere and
Yeah,
they sit
exactly.
and
Yeah,
they're free,
yeah.
and you know it might serve a purpose, it might not, but a lot of time and money and talent, you know, is spent on these shorts, and they should be you know monetizing it.
Yeah.
So we're giving them an outlet for that. You as a filmmaker can come and submit to create your own channel. You know, so like this podcast could be on TV, and you can monetize it in a totally different way. You can live stream. You can restream your lives. You know, if you're streaming on YouTube and people are in your chat and they donate to you and things like that. Well, you can do the same thing on Yow at the same time and make 2 different streams of revenue.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then of course we're creating fast channels. So you as a filmmaker, if you have or a distributor, independent distributor, can put your entire library on there, or just have it, you know, flowing through a fast channel, you know, and creating revenue that way. So lots of different ways to make money on these films. It's very exciting.
That's awesome. Well, I like I say, I dig that because I think it does now. I know what I was doing more. You know, like we've talked before. I'm like seeing hearing all those different aspects does make it separate from why am I going to Yow, you know, or Yow.tv or Yow TV, because I think that is something that's different because the filmmakers need somewhere they can get their stuff shown to people that do want to watch that, or building a channel that's like, oh man, they got some real shit. Have you guys talked to, like, you know, you've been in the community or you know, connected within the producing realm, be like, hey, we're starting this. Maybe you guys should wink, wink, nod, nod, and start checking out these, you know, producers in Hollywood or other companies. To just be like, hey, you guys need some talent. Check out our, you know, it's not just a streaming service. These are curated filmmakers.
Yeah, it could be it's a
you
tool
don't have to
as
search
well.
the world. You can come here, you know, and then on your guys' aspect, you know, I guess market wise, you guys still going to launch, you're still going to the beta, but like going to film schools or going to these communities, be like, check it out. Here's our marketing. Like, you want to maybe get seen by, you know, that's the pitch, but like, yeah, maybe you will get seen by somebody to move forward. But instead of putting it on YouTube where you know, chances of you running across a Hollywood producer on YouTube is almost slim to none.
Yeah.
But over here, you guys are trying to push that more.
Yeah, it could be a great tool, you know, for professionals like, you know.
Yeah, because like you guys would be like, yeah, that guy's fucking great.
this
Like,
guy's
let's
got a great
lock
eye.
him on.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, or
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right. I'm so cold, dude.
I'm sorry, man. I'm
feet are
so
freezing.
sorry.
No, but I mean,
I'm like, this is the warmest. Dude, when I get cold down here, it's bad.
dude,
Like,
I
it's
just
bad.
came from 85 degree weather, so
Yeah.
I mean, you hit it right on the head, you know, and yeah, it could be a very useful tool, you know, for industry professionals. We're kind of looking at a different, you know, portal, you know, for those reasons.
Because that excites me about it. Because I'm someone that's like trying to come up. Like, okay, where can I? Yeah, I use YouTube for this into the podcast space.
Yeah.
Okay, we know this, but me that's always in the front of my mind is film. How do I direct my first film? You know, but if there's a platform, it's like, no, this can get you in front of people.
Yeah.
Maybe you put a reel up, you know, like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I mostly do, you know, like even with Vet TV or corporate stuff, but if there's a few things that are like, hey, this can live here, you know, or even my reel can live there with a potential for someone to see it, like knowing that's what the platform, you know, it's not everything, but it's a significant chunk of that platform. That's a big deal for people in our industry.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a calling card, but you go to one place and if it's like, yeah, it's not as big as others, but man, if it's just a Rolodex of talented, you can network, and it's you could have visual effects artists there too, or you can, it's not a Fiverr, but it's a check out these reels. I can go to one place and try to find people with talent. Even if they're not the best shooter, but they can, goddamn, they can render effects on their own with like, well, I don't need a team. I need one guy that's talented for 4 months. That's a big deal. Especially within the democratized digital realm that we live in.
Exactly.
Especially working with like the Unreal Engine, and stuff like that, or just even
working with the Unreal Engine.
The Unreal Engine, yeah. That's what I'm. My buddy is super talented. And it's just like, dude, proof of concepts that he could pull off is
it's insane. Well,
insane,
and that everything's going into the AI world too. So that's a whole other conversation. But
you guys, how does you guys in that realm? How does it help you guys? And how has AI helped you? How is it? Do you even feel? I don't feel it as a disadvantage. I don't.
I mean, it's a tool.
It's a tool. I always feel like people like freaking out.
Sadly, people try to
rely on
use it as a replacement.
Yeah. It's not. It's like,
but getting back, a bean counter who's never made anything, they're sitting in an office going, well, let's just have AI do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know they've gotten a lot better, but it's, for me, it's like, I think it gives the tool to the filmmaker of like, I don't have any money, but I can go on AI and create a few shots.
Yeah.
And then, but again, you can't tweet. I mean, I've been on there. I mean, I remember it was a year or two ago now. So it was a disaster when I'd be like, and you're like, okay. And now it's getting better, but I'm like, and then you start looking at these prompts. You're like, okay, like if you're trying to get real specific, you might, it's
the stuff available to the public is very different than the things that filmmaker Hollywood is using.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hollywood has some access to. I think it was the ChatGPT one for like a year or two.
Sora.
They would, Sora. They wouldn't release it. They're like, well, we're still testing it. And I'm like, oh, you don't want us to have it, essentially. Like,
well, now they're so smart in the way that they release that, and just having the public continue to prompt and let it learn. Through I don't know, probably tens and probably hundreds of millions of people now. And it's just moving so fast. I mean, look, I don't know. I think people want genuine stuff. They don't want to see AI creatures. There's a market for it, definitely. And I think ultimately, people want real stories created by humans that they can relate to.
Exactly. And we can circle that now if you guys want to talk about that, like story in the industry now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of that's
been lazy?
Yeah, it's lazy. Yeah, like you feel like it's like the bottom of the barrel talent,
Well, yeah, I mean, we saw this really weird push, to just involve people because of, certain things, and it's like, man, like, can we just go back to like being good at something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that we are, ultimately, we saw a huge, trend down in a lot of that stuff, coming up now. But, I think people are lazy. They're using, AI. No one has enough time in the day to do anything. But, as a creative, you really have to, set that time aside and put the fucking work into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think people just, they want to take the shortcut. And it's a whole different conversation with studios and things like that. But
I mean, there's thousands of scripts that are original and amazing. They're just sitting, on shelves, which is really sad. And it goes back to again that risk. That is the magic of Hollywood. And for whatever reason, the risk isn't worth the reward because there's too many, whatever's going on. But people want original stuff, and AI is going to give you what it knows. And it's just going to give it to you a different way. It's not original. It's not new. It's just like a rebranding of what
exists. Yeah.
So it's just it gets back to finding those incredible original stories, but all that stuff's out there. Hopefully it finds its way back to the screen.
People have to put their money where their mouth is, and these giant streaming companies and corporations, they're going to continue. Not that they're making money, they're all in debt. They're billions and billions of dollars in debt. But people have to stand up and say, no, you know what, I want to watch this instead.
Yeah.
And
because I feel like in the I feel like it was a point where like, man, you'd never get this with AMs. There was like maybe a year or two, like Stranger Things, there was a point there, like it was a nice little apex, was like, dude, we're getting some banger TV that's better than film. And it's like, so we're getting what we want, but now it's like, it's dropped off. And now, you got, what the hell that Russo brothers movie was, they spent like $300 million on, and you're like, what is going on here? Like, I watched some of it and I'm like, this is, even for them, I was like, did you guys just take the page? Oh, which, by the way, go for it, man. If somebody offered me millions of dollars and all sorts of craziness, but like, okay, I'll do it. But I can be bought.
just put it out there.
So throwing it out there. He did a sequel to that, whatever. I can't remember even what it's called anymore. It was on Netflix.
You really want to take a risk?
Yeah. You want to take a risk? Yeah. Follow up on the Russo brothers. No, but now it feels like they're just, I don't know. It's like, how are you missing with all that money? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
it's weird.
Going back to Stranger Things, it was probably originally a feature, right?
Yeah.
And then it was that time where streaming wanted,
they wanted
you to keep
going
binge watching it.
Yeah.
So they got broke out.
Yeah.
It may not be the case, but it feels like that was the case with that.
Yeah.
And so then that was the trend, like, oh, we got to have these like binge-worthy series.
Yeah.
And you can't always do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Because then that was an issue where people were like, this didn't need to be a series.
Yeah.
This could be
one
great movie. Yeah. And then there's films that you're like, man, that could be a series. Again, I think it comes down to the talent and understanding when you should and shouldn't do things.
Yeah.
Like Ozark was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was not a movie. That was a series.
Yes.
God, there was a series I did watch. I can't remember what it was, but you're like, this is a movie. Like, it's too slow. It's
bunch
like
of filler.
Yeah, way too much filler.
Like literally, like every middle episode is a filler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, actually, I hate to say it, Severance. I think Severance could have been one season putting everything in. Yeah. You could have. Long movie, 2.5 hour. You could pull it off with a full 2.5 hour film. It was, but now it's starting to drag. We just finished. It was, we loved it. But it's a lot of filler now. Season 2 is a lot of filler, and you're like, dude, you could have, like, then they like left it open. Like, of course you fucking did. Like, they're spending so much money on it. I mean, it's Apple. Apple can do whatever. They're not only streaming, but they're Apple. So they're like double dipping on so much money. But no, I agree. As I say, I feel like there's a turn, and
But even Hollywood knows, dude. Like, for instance, like Seth Rogen's got a new show out called The Studio. Have you seen the first episode?
No, I haven't. No,
I watched it last night.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, and they're saying all the same things we are. They're just putting it on screen.
Yeah.
Where he becomes, a studio head of the, it's what he wanted forever.
Yeah.
And his first, they're talking about Barbie and how Barbie crushed, and we gotta do something like Barbie. And they give him the IP Kool-Aid. So like, you need to make the Kool-Aid movie. And he's like, oh, fuck. So he goes out and he's trying to find a director, and they're up his ass. And he finds Scorsese. Yeah. And he's like, oh, this is incredible. I got fucking Scorsese.
Yeah.
He's stoked about it. And he wants to make the Jonestown version of the Kool-Aid movie. You know what I mean? So but the network execs are like, fuck no, we're making, the Kool-Aid
Man.
movie. You know what I mean? Yeah, literally the Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah.
So he's in this like predicament where he has to like he buys Scorsese's script, and then, because he thinks he's going to do this deal.
Yeah.
And then they have to bury it. So, and it turns out that was going to be, his last hurrah, his last film that he ever did was going to be this Jonestown, movie. So he's, I don't know, the episode 1 ended last night, and it was pretty fun.
That sounds pretty good. I was watching. There's one called The Franchise.
Okay.
That was kind of that. It's like the big, making fun of the big mega movie franchises, and they're like changing the director. It's a meta, obviously meta, but it's funny. It's like the AD, like trying to hold it all together, the whole production together.
Yeah, which is true.
It's just funny. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was funny. Like, and it's, I've only gotten the first 3 episodes, but they canceled the second season. Apparently people loved it, but then they canceled the second season. But yeah, it was funny. But I mean,
can't let them know the inside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I saw the studio, and I'm like, oh, it's like all meta. It's like they're making fun of it, but they're all, But I agree. I think it's that weird. Again, I don't know Hollywood very well, but it does feel like there's like a shift. I mean, you remember we all lived through through it, the 90s, 2000s, man,
Yeah.
it was like, there's no questioning. You're like, man, those movies are just coming out. And
Dumb
they're
and
like,
Dumber.
They're fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. And you know, super, well, people talk about the comedies, like super bad. Even the comedy's taking a hit, you know, it's like,
Massive hit.
you know, they just don't take the risks anymore. And
It'll
you
come
know,
back. I mean,
I think it'll come back.
Stand-up comedy took a huge hit too. And
Yeah,
now
yeah.
they're
It's
like,
come
fuck
back.
that. Like,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
going to say whatever we want.
Well, I think the sketch world is like bringing maybe to life again now can sketch translate into feature for comedy,
Right.
Because I mean, Superbad, man, it's a great story. Where do you find that? Who finances that 30 or 20, $30 million feature?
Yeah.
You know, you might have a banger from Shane Gillis or McKeever, who's his director. Who's going to give them, you know, because it's not 150 million, and then you want more than 5 million.
Right.
So, you know, where does that comedy, you know, can you take the risks on that anymore? You know,
It'll be interesting. Like I said, I'm optimistic.
No, same.
think
I
it's
am
all-
too.
dude,
Yeah.
Everything is like so cyclical, like in this world, and we're just in a weird spot, and it's just gonna come right back around.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they did something back in the 50s or 60s. Like, oh man, this is what's going to happen next
Yeah, right,
in the
right.
70s
This
or
is
something.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before like the whatever they call it, the not realism, but the gritty 70s films came out, like French Connection, and you know, and like I don't know, I can't remember what they called that era, but it was like all not Grindhouse, but yeah, they were all super dark. It went from like, hey, 50s, 60s, everything's all hunky dory, to like 70s, everything like, took a turn. Everything's dark. Everyone's like weird and all that shit. But
Yeah, it depends on the culture, you know, and the times. You know, we're in fucking weird times right now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's like I said, the audience is, again, it's a double-edged sword. Like, there's too many people, but then you can find an audience that's going to pay for your film.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, you know, so it's like a weird. I don't know. Like when people talk about, you freezing still. Got some tequila. You can warm me up.
Oh yeah, is it noon yet?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It is. There you go.
Pour it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We still got 10 minutes though.
Oh, we got time.
No, we got time. Yeah. But yeah. So I think it's just that weird. Yeah, I agree. You know, I don't know. Like I said, you were there in the 90s, 2000s. So it felt like everything was moving forward. But now it's just like I said, we're doing it. It's like you're like, all right, man. Like we're all floating, not rudderless in the ocean, but even like studios are like, I don't know, you know, like everyone's just like in this pool of water and they don't know where.
Yeah,
to
so
go.
things, and the thing is, like, their data projects, you know, they were expecting to make, you know, 100+ million opening weekend on Snow White.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
We can
I
start
mean,
talking. Now we can start shit
47
talking
million
films.
dollars.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't always, it's not always backed up by numbers, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I can put a bunch of numbers together, you know, based on data on a specific film, because that's what we do. You know, we did that, you know, when you go to pitch, you know, for financing for a slate.
Yeah.
It's like, well, and that's why you create a slate, because, you know, more than, you know, 9 out of 10 of those films are going to bust probably, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you can throw numbers up anybody's ass, you know, but it's just, it depends, man. There's just so many different factors. And, you know, like Brian said, even with Protocol 7, like, now we're starting to get a lot of traction with it, you know, because the times are different.
Yeah.
And
you guys released that in May of this last year. Or you guys had a theatrical run, or was it,
it
like
was
a little bit of a run?
limited theatrical run.
Limited theatrical. Yeah.
And then we did a bunch of event cinema.
Yeah.
And then we put it up on Yeah TV.
Yeah.
Let me just bring it back to Yeah TV.
Yow TV. Dude. Yow TV.
Actually, it was great because
I'll do ad reads. I told you I need sponsors.
we put it up there to test the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and you know, see if we could handle traffic and all that, and it proved to be a great test for us because we got, you know, tens of thousands of, you know, subs based off of one title.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's good to go. Yeah. That's I mean, especially with that. You guys see with the traffic stuff like that, go too technical, but do you guys have multiple servers?
Oh, yeah.
This is a real technical thing now.
Well,
yeah.
we-
Or they have that. Now is there a service that does that?
well, there is, you know,
yeah.
so it's all being absorbed by Amazon.
Oh,
So
really?
AWS.
Okay.
So we decided not to use AWS, and we
Well,
built our own server network.
Because they could
that-
shut you down in a heartbeat if they want.
immediately. So all the work that you put in, and
Yeah.
look, dude, we're gonna have controversial films. We're gonna have
Yeah.
Right now we have a doc called Hell of a Ride about Trump's 2016
Oh,
run.
really? What's it called?
Hell of a Ride.
Oh, hell of a ride. Okay.
And they hate Trump, clearly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
very like left-wing doc. On the other side of things, we have River of Freedom, which is a COVID documentary about New Zealand and the uprising of the people.
Yeah, I think I saw that on there. I checked it out. Yeah.
And we have something for everybody.
Yeah.
Like we just want to give a voice to the filmmaker, and
Yeah.
we're not taking a political stance on anything, which
Yeah.
is really cool. But yeah, you're right. Like a lot of these titles, they can't go anywhere else. Because there's gatekeepers, literally.
Yeah. I know there is. I mean, that's a real thing. I mean, even
Protocol 7 is on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For how long? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's on not Prime, but on the marketplace.
Yeah.
But
Because even with YouTube, man, like algorithm stuff, like you'll get zapped for.
Yeah.
I mean, I got one I tried promoting, had nothing to do with politics, and it zapped it for politics.
Wow.
I was like, there's nothing in it it's about this. Is my most recent episode. A Marine goes from Marines to Navy SEAL. He just talks about, so I became an officer, and then I went to BUD/S. That's
like
that's
a
the whole clip.
Yeah.
And it was like politics. I'm like,
this will get zapped because we said
it was a zap.
the V word.
And I tried it like 3 times, and it just disproved. I'm like, I even like took off the last like minute because I could if it was only like 10 minutes. I was like, all right, well, maybe if I just edit it a little bit, it'll like rejigger it to whatever and change the title. Same thing.
Wow.
It's just I'm like, I don't even. So it's just flag the whole video.
Well, it transcribes everything and knows what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
But even then, there was nothing because I watched the whole thing. I was like, "There's nothing to do with politics in this one in this clip." Now he is running for U.S. Congress. That might be it.
Oh, wow.
So everything was disapproved. I got further on one. They took some of my money.
that's what's crazy, man. And then they just demonetize it.
Yeah.
Like we'll never do that to you.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
But I do appreciate though if you guys are doing all these titles where people then can go see it and be like, hey, this is a real, like or like I said, if you got multiple different titles, without somebody nuking it, I think that, and technically that's the thing. I mean, like you guys aren't on the AWS servers. It's a big deal.
Yep.
Because somebody can nuke you. I think there's always some, it's when they took Parler down. They're like, oh, they built another platform other than Twitter. Well, they nuked it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, we didn't like it. Well, they nuked it. So because it's owned by Amazon, the server, or it was on the Android systems or whatever.
yeah.
Or I think they took it off the Apple. If they take it off the market, the store, it's nuked.
Yeah, so for us, we have our web-based. I mean, we're everywhere. We're on Samsung TVs, LG TVs, Fire Stick, Apple,
But I'm saying
iOS.
it's like your servers though are a different.
Our servers
company
are
or
on
different.
They're all over the world.
Yeah.
They're run by a third party.
Yeah.
And I mean that was like one of our biggest things right off the bat. Which
Yeah,
is
you
like,
have to,
what?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But in the case
Yeah.
that like,
At some point, we might acquire something that someone's not going to like.
we own everything. We own the platform. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. Like in doing all this research, everyone's got these white labeled platforms with a monthly or yearly or annual subscription for like tens of thousands of dollars, and then you're paying them like a 17% fee on all transactions. And with the guys that built ours, we own everything forever.
That's awesome. Yeah. Because I mean, it's that in our world we have to like know everything.
Yeah.
Like in the filmmaking world, but also it's like and now I need to know back into YouTube and logistics. Now I need to that because I'm a bit of a tech nerd too. Like I used to build computers and stuff like that. And
That's
like,
a great question too. Because
it's like, hey, do you own a server? No. Well, you better because they can nuke you.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Like as a filmmaker, like we have to be trustworthy. You know what I mean? Like for people that want to come to our platform, they have to know that it's going to persist longer than the 6 months or whatever it takes for these things to fail. And for us, it's like, dude, we have massive plans for this thing, and the beta run is just the beta run, and then even the launch is the launch, but it's which is going to launch in September. But
Have you guys ever thought this? Again, pushing ideas to you guys, but I mean, like even think about whoever these titles that are coming in. Now this is a problem all around that they discussed after Cillian Murphy had won Best Actor, was you couldn't find 28 Days Later on DVD anymore. You have to go to eBay. And I've always been collecting DVDs, so I have a list on Amazon, and once in a while I'll just drop $100 and buy like 10 movies, but they're all like recent because they all drop price pretty quick.
That had a bunch of like IP issues 28 days later, right?
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
I can't get into, I don't know like the specifics.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was literally like wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You can't watch it digitally. You can't watch it anywhere.
I think I have it somewhere
Movie
floating
rocks,
around.
too.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. But, you know, with guys that are going on your platform, is there a way that people could be like, dude, I want to buy this DVD? Not saying you're going to bring back that whole industry, but like having the option to say, like,
well, we'll
you know,
have
just something that's just like, here you go, click
we'll
this
have
button.
selected
and
titles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We will have a store attached eventually.
Yeah.
You know, with not just our merch, but if you're, you know, a filmmaker, you have merch. You know, you can.
That's
sell
awesome. I like that. That's
sell it there,
awesome.
too. Yeah, so we'll have like our own
Yeah.
marketplace, like strictly for film, which we think is pretty rad.
Yeah.
You know, it's
that's
just,
dope because I mean, people make posters or whatever.
yeah,
and like, dude, you could go down a rabbit hole and
yeah.
it's very cool artists to be like, hey, this is RIP, you know, let's put it on Yow and then when people watch it, like, I love that shirt, or that's a sweet painting from this film that I like, you know, go for it, click it, fucking out.
Yeah, we like to think like ultimately, like the perfect version would be like Netflix meets YouTube meets Spotify meets Patreon.
I love that.
You know?
Meets. Yeah.
Like you can. There's films.
As I'm sure you ran into that in the Hollywood, like, and then it's like Aliens meets Die Hard meets, you know, Sleepers in
like
Seattle.
taking all these like for us, it's like how can we most benefit, you know, the independent world? And it's like, well, we have to take elements from all of these other places and kind of combine it into one.
Yeah.
Right. We have to have social integration. We have to have, you know, community driven, you know, base and platform. And you know, you can watch films there. You can watch short form content. You can watch podcasts.
Yeah.
You can build a watch list. You can share that watch list. You know, it's very different.
No, I agree, and I think that, and now that this is the most we've ever talked about.
And you can buy shit.
Yeah, and you can buy stuff. Yeah. And that's the most we've ever talked about it. That's why I'm like, dude, this is, I love.
And there's
going to
be kid stuff. There's going to be educational content.
Yeah.
Like one thing, like as a parent, you know, like I'm always worried about like Misha running because she can run a computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like insane, and it's like, you know, you have to be very conscious of what your children are watching.
Yeah.
You know, even on like the Disney app.
Dude, we were talking about that the other day. Like they just switched it up one day, so it was all Disney titles, and then one day I go on it and it's like, hey, you want to watch American Horror? Wow. It's like next to like Lilo and Stitch, and then it's like the Alien franchise, and then I'm like, what? You know, like, and they now I'm sure I think you can go and switch it over, but it's like still my account, like so it's like this weird. It's like, why the fuck did that just happen? You know, and so now there's all sorts of.
Because they've absorbed so much.
Well, they
IP,
like
you know?
Hulu, or they absorbed Fox. They absorbed like
ESPN.
ESPN. So now it's like.
Yeah.
All that shit came up one day, and I was like, "Whoa!" You know, she can be clicking on some pretty wild stuff. You know, so yeah. But yeah, I would say, I think I don't know. I think, like I said, I think your guys' streaming place, if it offers something different, and I'm not saying, because I feel like people have built stuff not kind of like that, but they're in a very specific niche. Like I think I'd like the Daily Wire. Like you go over there, you're watching like 5-6 different shows. Sometimes they have
going bankrupt, by the way.
which is going, yeah. 'Cause I was about to bring that up, which is now you're hearing kind of a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. Sorry that you're so cold.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah. You know, use the other. There you go. Yeah, that one gets stuck.
Yeah, Brian has diarrhea. I'm kidding.
We can keep going. You're still here. That's what 2 out of 3 is not bad. Yeah. But I just heard about that with the Daily Wire, and you're like, dude, I thought you guys had like 1 million subs with paying $10 a month or even $5 a month.
Then they blew a bunch of money on really bad movies.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's you know, like Jeremy Boring, like he started off as a producer, film producer, and that's what he wants to do, and that's fine. But at the same time, it's like, you know, the people that subscribe to you for, you know, political knowledge, you know, aren't going to watch a really shitty comedy.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah. No, I agree.
But they're also trying to solve a problem, and they put their money where their mouth is by by doing that.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like I Am Racist, great documentary. What Is Woman, great, but it's within your realm, and those are docs that cost a few million. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
and only your subs are going to see that, and guess what? They get to see it for their subscription price.
Exactly.
You know, so you're not really. I don't think you're really gaining anything out there.
No.
You know,
Yeah, they did. They actually did I Am Racist theatrical. They actually made a few million. Yeah, they actually, you know, but again, that's a little rare instance of like, there's a lot of momentum. You know, some theaters aren't playing it, some are. You know, some. You know, but But yeah, again, a different landscape. But yeah, I agree with you. And then they did the whole Pendragon cycle. I'm like, they're like spending tons of money. I'm like, dude, I don't think anybody subscribes to Daily Wire to
their
watch.
biggest host,
like,
Candace Owens. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, Brett Cooper.
Yeah.
Dude, she's crushing it.
Yeah.
You know, I
They
mean,
both are.
Yeah. And now it's like, oh, he's leaving. Now this. Now they're like, oh, they've been wanting to get bought. I'm like, that's not good signs for anybody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. If you have to, pigeonhole yourself into like one specific category.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think of them a little bit, not with yours, but that's a very specific political conservative niche with like, I mean, there's like, you're going there to watch exclusive content from like, again, 6 influencers.
Uh-huh.
It's not, you're not building I'm not building my platform or my profile on the Daily Wire,
right.
Like and doing, but they sell merch and they do all that other stuff. So it's kind of like thinking of that.
And also
way.
you're in an echo chamber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we think, the more different things that are available to you, the better. I always surround myself with people who think very differently than me because otherwise how would I learn anything?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I agree. And I think that's, and some of the like, I mean, have you guys, you're launching the June beta. Are you guys thinking of like, what areas are you pushing in? Like, just thinking in my head, like, are you pushing in Asia? Are you pushing in all over the world? Or like, what's your market?
It's domestic now.
Domestic, okay.
We will do an Asian market.
I'm just like, or
later in
whatever.
probably 2026, just because that's a massive market.
Yeah.
And we do have, contacts in Asia. And of course, we're putting out our next film theatrically in Southeast Asia. We're researching that market, kind of seeing what's going on there in the streaming world, which it's growing and it's massive right now. Like between India and Southeast Asia, it's just huge. It's really fun, man. It's a totally different space.
Yeah.
Learning incredible new things every day.
I was gonna say, like, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's streaming films, but you're like, dude, this is the technical, that's the financial, that's the marketing, that's
we've got a great
code,
team.
UI interface, all that shit.
Yeah. And that's what that's what beta's for.
Yeah.
A lot of it's going to be UI.
Yeah.
It's an open beta.
Yeah.
So you can join most likely in the end of May.
Yeah.
There's a lot of development still kind of happening. You can go to the site right now, and check it out. It's up, excuse me, but everything is kind of coming soon, quote unquote. And then we have a bunch more titles being added too. So but it's operational.
I'm gonna throw my high school film in there.
Yeah. Well, you can submit it and go
From
through
Lutheran High or like, submit it. Take a look. Yeah.
But like,
it's my finest
area
work.
that we're like focusing on specifically is film festivals. They can,
taking a look at the film, like, and then pulling them.
Well, sponsoring them, number one,
Yeah.
Because they need money to operate, and then having them come to Yow TV to create a channel to showcase those films that might have won, or you can actually vote.
Runner up.
You can actually hold an online version of the festival on Yow TV.
Yeah.
Which will hold our own festivals digitally on
That's
the
awesome.
platform as well.
I dig that.
And give promotion to independent films that crush.
See, that I dig that because it's like I don't have to go to like those different festival channels or just those festivals in general. Like, and I don't know how. I mean, I think everyone's got their feelings on film festivals. I remember being in film school and being like, hey, if you want to make money in the industry, start your own film festival. Right. Minnesota's got a few. They have like Z Fest that's hosted by Z Systems, and friends do them, which is like great. I've never been a huge fan because of it's like the amount of effort and money some guys put in, and I'm like, it's cool, you're doing your craft, but I just don't. I don't know. I get my trigger time elsewhere with projects than being like, once a year we're gonna make this really crappy shitty short film and then submit it in a festival for 48 hours. Like, okay, I get it, but at the same point though, like the bigger ones like Tribeca or Sundance or whatever, like those are, let's say, legit. But you know what I mean? Like,
but they've also kind of been like captured. I don't even call those independent film
that's what they talk
anymore,
about too. They're not really independent. More like A24 is putting their $6 million Nora into, with marketing and everything behind it. So you're like, well, is that truly, Sean Baker didn't like call a few friends like, we need $6 million. We're going to fucking do this. It's like,
well, that was Neon. They're trying to do, what they should be doing, which is building their company.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I've known the name over the years. I mean, it's not up there with A24 and Blumhouse, but it's there. I've seen, they've got some bangers. They've had some good
Long
films.
Legs and
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. No, I've seen like Neo. Oh shit.
They're getting up there, and that's why they're doing it. It's for they're trying to value their company at $1 billion plus and sell it probably. You know?
Yeah.
Why not?
Have you guys heard any rumors of like new studios that are thinking about popping up within the Hollywood system?
A lot in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Because I talked to
that,
I talked to a buddy of mine who's got his book acquired. I'll talk offline about it, but he was like, some big fucking hitters are like ditching Hollywood, and they're like, we're remaking the whole Hollywood system. He didn't get into super detail because I don't think he knew super detailed, but he from his selling his book to and doing all that stuff, and he's like, yeah, we talked to some very big high end. Everyone knows their names, and they're like shifting fire to basically building a new Hollywood system elsewhere.
Texas,
Yeah.
Vegas, those are two markets that are going to be
Big
booming.
upcoming.
Yeah.
They just increased their incentive by like 4 times in Texas, which is always hard
Well,
to get.
Texas is dude, you can do a lot
But
there.
even there, like they're building that giant studio in San Marcos, and it still hasn't begun. They haven't broke ground yet. It's supposed to break ground in like February 23.
Yeah.
So I think even that, they're really just trying to figure out, what the play is. And like, do they invest $1 billion into a studio, or
Take that billion and make a bunch of movies.
Is everything going to be virtual production and AI? Which makes a much smaller space, smaller footprint. So we'll see.
It's interesting, because Bastrop is supposed to be getting some studios.
What's that?
Bastrop, Texas, is near Austin.
Okay.
And then Dallas, there's all the talk.
Dallas,
it's very
Dallas
already has a couple decent studios. We shot over there recently.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cool. Really great.
Virtual production,
Yeah.
LED walls. And
Oh
all that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah. We just got one here in Minnesota.
Oh no way.
Yeah. So I saw it advertised like in the Facebook, like Minnesota Facebook filmmakers, But then I started to see it on Instagram. I mean, it's small, it's not huge, but it's also the Midwest. Like it's like 10, 15 feet by, but a lead edge and a lot of it's commercial use, mostly commercial,
exactly.
not like film,
Yeah.
not like
It's
we're shooting a
driving,
movie,
it's-
but it's like here's the new NFL player, they put up stuff on the screen, so it's not huge, but it's something new and it's finally here that they're doing it, but that's building the giant LED walls and. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it still comes with the democratization of stuff. Where it's like, okay, cool, you're shifting big studios, but what are you shifting? Because no one wants all those studio backlots. Things cost less, and you better have a good story. So even if you got $1 billion and you're like, I mean, you could do some damage, or you know what I mean. It's like, why build a studio? Just finance a fuckload of movies that are good.
Right.
I think that's always the argument, but I don't know. But that's good. It's interesting you guys are hearing that because my buddy told me that, and he's like, all secret. I was like, well, I don't know how secretive, but I'm sure people in the industry know it's shifting, and especially with Hollywood, man. Like, I feel like, I don't know. Now that we're on, and after talking with Kerry Kite, he went there in I think like 2014 or something like that, or 50, to do I'm going to LA, and and I don't feel like people are doing that maybe as much anymore. Like, I don't know if that's the culture. If you're like,
they
want to
can
be
sit in their room
Yeah,
right here and
exactly.
create content and make money on YouTube.
exactly,
You know?
yeah.
And by the way, be more famous and have more followers than you would doing one movie, chasing a dream for decades, trying to do one film.
Yeah.
So it's a different landscape.
It is,
I mean, dude, it's crazy. You see the same actors in the same movies over and over and over again. Like De Niro was just in a mobster movie that totally tanked. They made
Was that he's got that new one coming out?
Altos or something like that.
Oh my God.
It just came out, and
It came out?
it made $3.2 million opening weekend.
Jesus.
In like,
I didn't even know it came out. I just saw like a trailer for like 2 weeks ago.
it
And
was
I'm
in like
what the fuck
1,900
is this?
theaters.
Yeah.
It made $3 million.
That's horrific.
But stop putting 80-year-old dudes
Yeah.
in, like, dude, give
Was
the
that
role to someone else.
Scorsese that did that one, or was it?
I don't know
okay.
much about it. I just saw it on Hollywood Reporter.
I can't believe it's
this
just
morning.
fucking wow. Yeah. It gives you hope though, because they can't do it. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where like, well, they don't know either because they spend
changing of the guard.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's happening.
All this is happening at the same time.
I think that old Hollywood's holding on.
Yeah, they are.
And it's like maybe another 10 year or not, maybe five years, but it's like
Yeah.
there is that change. I agree with you because they started that talk 5, 6, 7 years. Well, 10 years ago, can't it was 2025 now, but like I remember in film school, and then like over the last few years, it's like there's no movie stars anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's a big thing. Tom Cruise is like it.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt, maybe or maybe not might sell your shit. Who else? I mean, seriously, who? Like Brie Larson doesn't sell anything. She's a Marvel. She doesn't move shit. You know, and you're talking about who else? Like Jennifer Lopez did some weird fucking Netflix movie that no one watched either. And yeah, they're not. Tom Cruise is maybe the last one, only because he's so hardcore. But even then, he's gonna age out.
Yeah.
I'll go see Mission Impossible because it's spectacle. It's a spectacle in the theater.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a great story. It's spectacle. Like you're on the edge of your seat. Like you know, I agree. I don't think they're. You know, granted, I'm sure for films, you guys are still like, hey, we still need a good actor to help pull things in. There's still a market for that, but there isn't like, holy shit, we landed.
We don't have to give someone $10 million for a role. You know?
Exactly. Like oh my God, we got Johnny Depp. Like, who cares? You know,
there's great talent out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know, just depends on the story.
Yeah, because I feel like the best actors are probably, I shouldn't say not hard to get, but like even Cillian Murphy talks about that. He's like, yeah, I don't. Okay. He'll be in some crazy indie, and then he's in Oppenheimer, so you feel like he's like a get, because he's not a movie star, but he's an amazing actor. So it goes for story. The story is what drives Cillian Murphy, not Cillian Murphy funds this film. Because you could, dude, there's a movie of him coming out, no one knows what it is. It came out after Oppenheimer. It's like straight to Amazon. It's like God, what's it called? It's something to do with like orphan kids in the church or something, like in like Ireland. I can't remember what it's called. It looks great. It looks super depressing, super art house. You know, one of those things like right up his alley. But like, I mean, the dude just won Best Actor and made $1 billion Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And
then
you do that. It's like I know of it because I look at all the films on Amazon, or you know, I mean, I can kind of at least track some of the indie films coming out, or films, and it's like, you know, he's not pulling in money, so you know, it's great if he's in it, but there's still story that still needs to get marketing, still needs to get out there,
right?
Yeah.
You know,
wild.
I feel like studios might be the name, like A24. Well, it's A24. Like, because now studios aren't reliable anymore. So I mean, like, who cares if Disney's launching? You'd be like, oh, the movie might actually suck ass. Like, A24. Well, you know
what you're getting into.
You knew what you're getting into. Yeah, exactly. You know that's
Higher caliber,
it's a brand.
You know?
Yeah, it's a brand. Like, you're kind of like, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's probably the next shift, is like the studio is the brand now.
Yeah.
Or the studio is the star.
Right.
You know, if it's backed by A24, you're like, well, okay. Or Neon.
Kind of regardless of who's in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Blumhouse.
Because Nora had nobody. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they were great. You know,
Yeah.
it was a fine film.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it should have won, but
Yeah.
hey, fuck, you drop $18 million on a $6 million movie, then you know.
Buy that award.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what they're saying. They're like, okay, like this wasn't like some natural. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Like,
I mean, it's always been a club.
it has,
you know?
yeah.
It's you're always paying to play.
You know? Yeah, exactly. Well, they talked about with the Weinsteins in the '90s and 2000s. It's like it was a pay to play, or they were so aggressive with and paying essentially for the Oscars. And you're like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Still a rigged system.
Yeah. You got to buy a Hollywood star, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
The Walk of Fame.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't hand those out. Like, you literally have to purchase it.
No
it's
shit.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, blah blah just got a star. You mean blah blah just bought a star?
Yeah. Jesus, yeah. That, like I said, I think that might be the next shift. You know, like I said, now, like with you guys coming like Yao, like all right, well Yao puts out good shit. You know, or like, you know, something along those lines or something.
That's actually our tagline.
Yao puts out good shit. You should just say that'd be awesome. Yeah. Be like, all right, man, I'll bite. Let's go to the movies.
We put out good shit.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Well, man, this has been.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can wrap it up here. I won't freeze you out to death here. So, where can people find you guys? Where do they want to go? Yao.tv, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Protocol 7. You know, look out for. I don't know. It's gonna be probably another year before your next film, but it's the theaters.
So, Yao.tv is the site. Yeah. You can go there on the web. You can download the app. Join the beta in probably May. You'll join the newsletter if you put your information in there. If you sign up right now, you'll be added to our newsletter. You can watch Protocol 7 there right now. I would advise doing that. You can also watch it on Amazon or Apple TV if that's more familiar to you. But we'd love you to come visit the app. Give us your thoughts. We want your feedback. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
that's what beta's for. And we want.
I'm gonna text you directly. I'm just like, this sucks, Joey. Do this. I'll get Brian to be like, Brian, tell Joey this sucks.
Well,
Joey, tell Brian to do something different.
if you're a filmmaker, you can also submit.
Yeah.
Go to submissions at yow.tv. Submit your film. We'll look through it and treat it just like anything else, any other title. What else?
I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Follow our socials. On Yow TV, Instagram, Protocol 7, Instagram, and we don't care about ourselves. You have to follow us. But
Sweet.
Good.
You should eventually, though.
watch Protocol 7.
Yeah.
Because it is a movie that will at least allow for some conversations to be sparked.
Yeah.
And it is good. It's a lot of dialogue, so get ready for that.
Awesome.
You need to pay attention. It's
Awesome.
it's a movie that you can't be playing on your phone.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Settle in, watch it, and enjoy.
Awesome. Rock and roll. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, great to see you.